The tape, let's grind. Shut up. The tape. Let's grind. The tape. We do it a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape. Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape. Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape. Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
The tape.
UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach, and the bench deep. Right. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Yeah. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunker down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Found guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby Smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do it a little bit different around here.
We ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind.
Grind
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up. The tape.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Monday evening. I mean, what a weekend. What an absolute weekend of college football. The sneak week absolutely delivered. Bama stunned in Nashville. Tennessee got woo-pigged. Got out here woo-pigged out there in Arkansas. Michigan falls. Missouri gets absolutely throttled out in College Station. Lincoln Riley makes a return to tonight's show in classic Lincoln Riley fashion. Miami. I think I'm going to lean into the Miami hatred. I think I am.
Yeah.
I think that's what they want. I think they want the world to hate them, so that's what I'm going to provide. I'm going to provide Miami hatred yet again tonight on tonight's programming. Where we were right, where we were wrong, if there are any. What a weekend. What a weekend of analysis for the Film Guy Network. I'm going to allow you at some point tonight to take a victory lap. So feel free to go ahead and start prepping that one. 3 things we learned from this weekend as well, and we're going to give you our Heisman updates. But, guys, I want to start, and I don't want to bury the lead. As my man Legend said on Paul Feinbaum shows today, 40 years, Paul. 40 years ain't never happened. 40 years. Vanderbilt knocks off Alabama. And do I see Vandy fans in the chat tonight? Potentially. They need to start loading up on this network because we're going to break out a film study on that Vandy offense. Ooh. Yep, that's right. I'm sleeping none this week. Zero sleep, sir. It is nothing but football content around here. We're going to break out another Vandy film study for you guys. Let's start there, man. We'll get ad reads. We'll ask friends and family to hit the thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that stuff in just another minute. But let's start right here. Let's not bury the lead. Give me your immediate reactions from this football game because I went and rewatched it again today before I took the film notes.
The biggest takeaway I had from the entire game was Bama could not get off the field on 3rd down.
Nope.
It didn't matter if it was 3rd and 3. It didn't matter if it was 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 15. Bama consistently messed up on 3rd down and let Vanderbilt extend drives to the point where they only had the ball for 18 minutes. You're not going to win many games with the ball for 18 minutes.
Now, we'll say this, a 17-play drive that was aided by, I believe, a pass interference and a 12 men on the field.
Yep.
So that'll help. That'll help a lot. One of which was self-inflicted. Alabama having 12 guys on the field is a you problem, not a referee excuse-making problem. That's a you problem. I went and I'm gonna break down the tape. Like I said tonight, I'm gonna go down and go play by play like I usually do on how Vandy's offense went about it and what actually went wrong. But upon first viewing, it's exactly what I thought it was gonna be. Right, 4 quarters of misfits. That's how I would describe what Alabama put on tape defensively. 4 quarters of misfits and general lack of preparedness, I would say. Right, when you face an option offense, my coaches, we never defended it very well. But the ones that did, we would practice without a ball. You got to tackle every option in the option, right? You got to be able to defend every portion of it. So you have to prepare for the looks really, really well. It looked like they were not fitting things very well at all in this football game for all 4 quarters, right? And I honestly thought their predictability got them in a lot of trouble. You're able to scheme up a defense that lines up and plays ball, right? We saw that from Alabama on the film study when we watched them. In fact, the only time they really created problems for Georgia in the second half of that football game was when they disguised coverage, was when they lined up in one thing and played another, right? Or at least varied the looks. They did none of that Saturday, and they don't have a lot of multiple defenses in their bag. At least they don't play a lot of them. Now, you could say a lot of that's due to the fact that this defensive install is relatively new, and I would allow some alleviance with that. I'll allow some leeway for that. However, this was absolutely that predictability was able to get schemed up. When you're playing a lot of cover one like they do, I can design a couple rub routes, man, on 3rd and 5. I ain't got to blow the top off the doors until the second half if I really want to when you're this predictable. But you absolutely, I think everyone's done a really good job of this from a national narrative standpoint. They've done a really good job of crediting Vanderbilt and Pavia because those dudes made play after play after play throughout this football game. Big-time catches, big-time play calls, too. They hit the same shuttle pass, the same inside shuttle pass off of veer option look twice to the tight end, both of which I think combined for like 65 yards in this football game. When you get explosives like that and you're dialing up play calls, I think both of them were 3rd and short. I mean, delicious play calling from this offensive coordinator from Vandy. And they're an extremely tough prep. I'm going to tell you that right now. I don't know what the rest of the season holds for Vandy. I really don't. But I know one thing. When you play Vandy this year, you better be practicing hard. You better be hitting. You better be hitting Monday through Wednesday and getting a look at what you don't get a look at the rest of the year. This is a very unique offense. Unless Georgia Tech's on the schedule, this is one of one. All right, this is 100% one of one. They're a really, really tough prep, and it requires a lot of block disruption. I heard Kame Womack talk about today, felt like we played on our heels too much. Not on the defensive line. In fact, on the defensive line, I would argue that they played disheveled. They played on 2 different levels too much. Guys getting way too far upfield and not holding blocks at the line of scrimmage, where we got 1 D tackle 3 yards downfield, 1 D tackle 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage. We can't play defense like that against an option front. We have to provide a uniformed front. We have to play a line of defense. We can't be like this. Now, on the back end, when he's talking about playing on our toes or playing on our heels too much, he's talking about block disruption on the second level. When these options get on the outside, we got to get off blocks. We got to defeat blocks and make tackles, and I didn't feel like they did that very well. So, I mean, it was a lot. I can't wait to get into the tape, but just from a first viewpoint standpoint, that's exactly what I saw. I saw 4 quarters of misfits from Alabama's defense. Offensively, they were who they were. That's who they are. Minus the pick 6. They're going to be like that until they learn how to sustain offense. I mean, it was literally touchdown, punt, touchdown, punt, touchdown, punt, touchdown, punt the entire football game for this team.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is everyone can talk about how this offense didn't look great. You had the ball for 18 minutes, you still scored 35 points. Like, that's very impressive. Despite the fact that it wasn't a losing effort, Alabama's offense still showed they're extremely explosive, and they're still extremely dangerous. It just so happens that if you're not dropping bombs on your defense, then you might not necessarily be scoring points and you're in trouble.
14 10-plus plays, 4 20-plus yard plays, 3 30-plus yard plays for Vanderbilt versus Alabama in that singular game. They ranked 121st in explosive plays heading into this football game, did Vanderbilt. That would be the one concern that I would have as an Alabama fan, that defense, because it's not just the Vanderbilt game and the fact that you gave up explosive plays to a team that wasn't very explosive coming into this, but there's been multiple performances now where teams have been able to create explosive plays against you.
What's it been, 63 points and 778 yards of total offense allowed in the last 6 quarters for Alabama's defense? That is not good at all. I wonder how they get it fixed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know how you. I don't know what the solution is for that. Almost.
Stop playing cover one. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
I would get into a more of a let's keep everything in front of us style of defense potentially. We even saw it going into the matchup with Georgia where it's like, hey, if Wisconsin and South Florida could just, I don't know, throw the ball at all, like they might have had some opportunities here in these football games, and it's continued to rear its head the last couple of weeks between Georgia and Vandy. But I thought, the 4th and 1 play where they obviously hit that touchdown, that is what is required to pull off that type of upset. It's not just the 42 minutes of possession, right? It's when the game got tight, 4th and 1. That dude Pavia clicked through all 3 reads. He clicked through the immediate winner zone beater on the bottom to his left, and then checked the Dover on the backside, and then was like, ooh, backside post getting a little leaky, got all the way to it on 4th and 1, and then the catch at the end of that.
Beautiful.
That's how 30-point upsets are pulled off right there. That was delightful.
Does Diego Pavia own the state of Alabama now?
Explain this one.
Well, this went under the radar. You know who was New Mexico's quarterback last year when they beat Auburn?
Pavia. Did they bring the OC with him?
Oh, I don't know.
Will you check this?
Yes.
I think this was a free agent signing of double whammy. I think they pulled the OC and the quarterback from New Mexico last year and brought them to Vandy.
Yes.
Is that how this happened? This was a tandem duo.
Yeah, his name is Tim Beck. It says Beck's offense helped New Mexico State and head coach, or that was New Mexico State. This was New Mexico, right? Or was it New Mexico?
It was New Mexico State.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes.
All right, everyone's had a take on it. Let's give ours. I gave the Malachi Moore take yesterday. I thought the most damning thing there was that he did not come off the field. The temper tantrums, I get it, passion. He didn't come off the field. That's weird, in my opinion. Now, the coaching staff has addressed it, and everyone led with, hey, this is a guy that kept everyone together when we first got here.
Yeah.
We are not, and I give Womack and I give DeBoer a lot of credit for publicly not allowing this to be, hey, we turned on our guy. Because that locker room is very, I wouldn't say fragile, but that locker room just had a legend leave it, right? And you're the next guy. All right, so how you approach these types of decisions are very, very important. And I think you might have lost a portion of that veteran leadership in that locker room, some of those older heads, some of those Saban, what do you call them, layovers. I think you might have lost a portion of those had he, given this guy a suspension or something out of the whack. You know what I mean?
Yeah, two things can be true. Like, Malachi Moore is one of the biggest leaders, and you have to kind of build around him, and the way he acted on Saturday was pretty unacceptable. I get being upset. I get throwing your mouthpiece. Kicking the football, that's not necessarily something you should be doing. But I do understand also the passion with that, the embarrassment, the anger you're feeling with that. I mean, you lost probably one of the most embarrassing losses that you've suffered in your football career. So I understand it, but also – and I understand why Kalen DeBoer didn't suspend him, but you can't do that shit.
Yeah, nah. What was your take on it, J-Will?
I think that it's tough. I understand the frustration, and I think you want some of your football players to have emotions, and you want them to care about that, and you want that moment to kind of signify this isn't acceptable at this program. This is not what we do. This is not the standard that we have set in place. But also to have it happen for not even just – there was multiple instances where it's very obvious and very clear, hey, this guy probably doesn't be able to feel right now. Something is clearly going on. First off, by shoving Pavia's face mask into the dirt. Yeah. Then you go and kick the football, and then you're chucking your mouthpiece 50 yards down the football field and then also yelling at your teammates directly next to you. I think that him not coming off the field was very eye-opening to me. And then I also kind of was taken back by the fact none of his teammates were really trying to reel him in either.
Jahad Campbell was the only one that I saw on tape do anything or
and
even say anything.
And he might be the only one who could be in that position to give a fifth-year guy, a leader of that defense.
Deontay Lawson, maybe.
So I kind of get it to why maybe someone didn't speak up to him, because that is the bona fide leader on that football team. He's the most experienced football player. But in those situations, I think you do just kind of have to find some type of way to reel it in. I don't know.
I have no idea what you do as a coach when you're trying to get a guy off the field and he's like, no, you. No, that guy's going back off the field. I get it if he's like, playing through an injury or something, but this is discipline. This is, hey, you've made a mistake. You are making an ass out of yourself. Get the hell off the field. And he's choosing not to publicly. They've obviously addressed it. They said they addressed it, or he addressed the team before they even left Vanderbilt. So it is interesting to see all of these guys have to continue to get put in front of the media, though. Tyler Booker has to now answer for him. Kane Womack now has to answer for him. Kalen DeBoer has to now answer for him. Maybe it's a good distraction, honestly. Talking way more about Malachi Moore's discipline than the loss to Vandy publicly right now in Alabama spaces. At least the questions in the media. I do want to take a quick second to give a shout out to our friends over at BetUS. If you're looking for a new book this season, BetUS is indeed the answer. Hey, man, they got the fastest deposit and withdrawal process in the industry. All right, I'm telling you right now, it's a great time to be over at BetUS. They have a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and 125% on the next two, guys. Up to $2,000 using code YouTube150. Again, that's code YouTube150 over at BetUS. 150% sign-up bonus on your first one, 125% deposit match on your second one, and your third one up to $2,000. Great time. BetUS, promo code YouTube150. Enough on the Bama game?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Tennessee took an L up there in Arkansas. I keep wanting to say Little Rock. I don't know why. Maybe because it's the capital of Arkansas. And, I'm a Walmart guy, and maybe that's what's got going on. Walmart threads on me right now, believe it or not. What were your thoughts on this football game? Because I thought, was I the only one on the internet very critical of the time management skills at the end of this football game for Tennessee?
No,
Everyone's just out here shitting on Nico. And not a single moment of criticism towards Heupel's management of the clock at the end of that football game.
I think the most glaring thing to me about being in that situation was not only the clock management, but I think that also you have to take a point in time during that drive, knowing that you have a first-year starter at quarterback. Take the time out, not only to save yourself some time, but let's reel our quarterback in, make sure he understands what the situation is. Hey, if this happens, this is what we need to do. You have to use that at a valuable time, and I feel like it kind of showed its ugly head at the end of that football game.
And just to recount the situation, right? It's a 3rd and 5. They're in no huddle. All right, 3rd and 5, they have an incompletion. They had to burn a timeout on 2nd down because they had the botched snap. So they burn a timeout. Now it's 3rd and 5. They throw an incompletion. The clock is stopped with 6 seconds left in the football game. The play clock, however, is ticking down. All right, there's 9 seconds left on the play clock. Josh Heupel burns his last timeout on 4th and 5. I believe the ball's at the 16. The ball's at the 11. Yeah. Nonetheless, there's an opportunity to get a first down before, reaching the end zone. But when you call that timeout there with 6 seconds left, you remove any opportunity for us to get tackled in bounds, and it completely changes the math. It completely changes the play call. It changes everything. And I felt like that was the primary issue right there, as opposed to, he just calls a timeout so he gets the best play called. But, like I said yesterday on the show, this dude spent 15 years now being a no-huddle operator. If you can't call a perfect play on 4th and 5 in no huddle when the clock is stopped, I don't know when you're going to be able to call the perfect play. So I thought, he had the opportunity to, get in the best situation for himself as a play caller while, sacrificing the opportunity to provide our quarterback the best opportunity to win the game. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, the egregiousness of the last play that Nico had, because it was a bad play. I understand he's a first-year starter. I understand your coach didn't necessarily put you in the greatest situation. That was a really bad play to close out the game. That's going to overshadow all the time management things. I felt like Arkansas didn't manage the clock well either. I feel like they should have let the clock burn and kick the field goal and be done with it. Now I understand that you were down one of your kickers, but
yeah, nothing at that point was guaranteed except for Arkansas's defense was playing relatively well.
Right.
All right, that was the only guarantee out there. I thought it was a good decision by Heupel, like I said yesterday, to allow that score there. Mathematically, 1 minute and 17 seconds to actually go down and score.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't care if it's a backup kicker or not. Ball's at the 2, you allow them to run the clock out. They're making that kick. You would hope so, right? Or,
I could make that kick.
Yeah, we could make that kick. So, I just thought it was very, very weird. I want to take it to the board. But before I do that, I want the rest of you guys' thoughts because I thought Arkansas did exactly what you have to do to limit this team offensively.
Oh, I said before the game, I think that Arkansas could make this game interesting because I thought they did have the bodies up front to where they could stop the run with 3 guys down. And they were used to playing this style of defense, and they were aware of how they had to do it. So I thought they could make this interesting. I did not expect them to completely shut out Tennessee in the first half, though, and take a 3-0 lead.
Yeah.
That was really surprising. So for an offense like Tennessee to get completely shut out by an Arkansas defense that's given up points all season long, that was what really overshadowed everything for me.
All right, so here's how we did it, and here's how we did it. Here's how they did it, right? And we've talked about on this network all the time, you got to be able to separate the field. You got to be able to play the box and play the pass completely separate of one another, dedicating eyes to each individually, right? And you have to do all of that out of that 3 down front because we have to dedicate enough bodies. What you can't see, guys, there's a daggone wide receiver all the way outside the numbers down here on the bottom. Okay, the spacing is extreme. You guys know this. There's another, wide receiver all the way up there at the top. So here's how Arkansas has game planned it, all right? This corner up here, unfortunately, you're going to be on an island on this particular rep. Now, here's the good news. Sideline is your friend, baby. Push that sucker into the sideline. We'll allow everything up underneath, but do not get beat. If he gets on top of you, just go ahead and tackle him. All right, you guys right here in the box, you guys are dedicated to stopping the run. Now, you'll notice we're playing it light. They got 8 guys in the box. They got 5 offensive linemen, an H-back that's 6, a running back that's 7, and a quarterback who can run the football. That's 8. Check out how many bodies Arkansas's got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're -2. We're -2 in the box. The reason being, because we had to get to a +1 count over here. We're playing 3 over 2. Now, they give up a touchdown right here. They give up a touchdown on a 53-yard run because the box count just a little bit too light. All right, just a little bit too light. But the rest of the football game, these dudes played like absolute war daddies. Absolute war daddies. And that's what you got to do. You got to play like superstars in that box right there. All right, I don't believe, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't believe Tennessee's offensive tackles had the best game of their career. I think crowd noise had a lot to do with that. All right, had a lot to do with that. But that game plan and allowing that type of or having success and comfortability playing that style of defense definitely presented itself in favor of the Arkansas Razorbacks up there, man. And again, if you take out that one run, and I know I do this a lot on this network, but that 53-yard explosive run for Dylan Sampson was not the mean for Tennessee offensively. In fact, it was a blimp on the radar. It was something that didn't statistically match the rest of their performances. They averaged 3.4 yards per carry the rest of the football game outside of that one play, and Arkansas did that, again, with extremely light boxes. It's why those throwing windows were as crowded as they were. If you can't run the football successfully, I don't care how good your quarterback is, it's going to be really, really tough to throw into multiple windows like that.
Yeah, every year the key to stopping Tennessee's offense, and frankly any offense, is how easy can you stop the run with as light a box as possible so you can dedicate more defenders to stopping the pass. And every year there seems to be at least one team so far that's been able to do it, whether it's Georgia or Alabama or other teams. Arkansas
couldn't do it.
Well, they did it last year.
Yeah, Joe Milton. Yeah. You're right. That's on me.
But that's the thing. Like it was Arkansas this year. If you can stop the run with a 5-man box, sometimes 6, be really good on the pass, you're going to give this offense a lot of problems because it's so dedicated on going quickly and being able to hit the shots when they need to. If you take the shots out of it and you're giving them only 3 yards a carry, they're going to be in a lot of trouble, and we saw that on Saturday.
I do think it's worth pointing out now that this is 3 years in a row now that Josh Heupel and Tennessee have lost a game that they had no business losing. It was 2022 South Carolina, 2023 Florida, and now 2024 Arkansas.
One more time on that list.
2022 South Carolina, 2023 Florida, 2024 Arkansas.
And I bet if we look at those football games, they got their absolute ass boxed inside the box against the run.
Mm-hmm.
I bet they got throttled at the line of scrimmage. And we'll get to it in where we were right, where we were wrong. But, man, I thought there was if you go back and look at that Oklahoma football game, there was a moment in that football game where Tennessee was just like, you know what? We're going to punt and play defense.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to squat on it, punt and play defense. We are Tennessee, this offense. that scored 73 against Kent State last week. We are going to take our foot off the gas, and we're going to call the game, not so aggressively because we got a backup left tackle in, or we got wide receivers that are banged up, or footballs happen to us. And we're going to take our foot off the gas because we can, because Oklahoma's offense ain't doing shit. Well, you had an opportunity also at that moment with no risk because Oklahoma's offense wasn't doing anything, to your point. All right, you had an opportunity there with a young quarterback on the road to keep your foot in it, to continue to play offense and leave that football game feeling like a superhero instead of leaving that football game thinking our defense won us a game. We could just punt and play defense. I think that was a missed opportunity for Tennessee, and I think it reared its head.
For sure.
All right. We've talked about the time issue already. Michigan. Let's move on to this one. I didn't watch a ton of it.
I didn't either. I was busy watching some other ones.
I watched enough to tell you that the quarterback play was disgusting.
Boy, they went to QB3.
Yeah, they did.
They went to my man's Jack Tuttle.
Oof.
Jack Tuttle out here getting PT. Jack Tuttle, formerly of?
Couldn't tell you.
What?
I think either Indiana or Notre Dame. I don't know. Apparently this guy played Power 5 football before.
Good
before
for him.
transferring
He's
here.
been in college football for a long time.
A fat minute. Must be getting his master's degree up
Must
there
be. He's just living life.
with Michigan. But hey, let me read you something right here. Last 5 possessions of the football game for this Michigan offense. You ready? 3 plays punt, 3 plays punt, 5 plays fumble, 5 plays pick, 5 plays end of game.
Disgusting.
How about this one? It gets worse. The last 3 offensive scoring drives for Washington, 45 yards, 32 yards, 26 yards. You talk about playing with short fields. Holy hell. I looked at this and honestly I was like, damn, Michigan's defense gave up 27 points. No. Michigan's offense gave up 27 points. My God. Washington had like 2 legitimate offensive drives.
Ugh.
And scored 27 points.
Sounds like I'm glad I missed that football game.
It's so weird to think that was a rematch of the national championship game.
Yeah, well, just decimated.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Just
on both
decimated.
ends. But yeah, no, that was I think I had that as the stinker game of the week, and boy, it delivered. That was disgusting.
I mean, in the heat of the battle, in the second half, they run a total of 21 plays. 21 plays.
Wow.
And can't garner any type of offense with QB3. Oof, rough. I'm good on the analysis on that football game.
That's all we need. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, nah. It was really, really bad. As was Missouri. Now, y'all go ahead, because I want to play a game of more embarrassing after this with you. So y'all go ahead and talk analysis of this football game, and I'll add in when I want. But I want to play a game of most embarrassing at the end of this one.
It happened. I mean, exactly what I said was going to happen to Missouri this year. This team reminds me of these former Oklahoma teams under Lincoln Riley, where you have some really good offensive pieces, and that's what everybody wants to focus on. Everybody wants to focus on Luther Burden. Everybody wants to focus on Brady Cook, and wow, they got Theo Weiss as well in that wide receiver room. They're going to be able to put up some points. Nobody wanted to talk about the defensive side of the football. Nobody wanted to talk about 7 out of 11 starters leaving that football team, and it showed up on Saturday.
Nobody but you, baby.
Nobody
but Jay Will.
And so I said, this team is, I think, they're going to be a bust, and it showed up. It was a horrible football game from jump. Very slow start. Now, some of it was self-inflicted. Some of it was, hey, P.I. didn't get called. But that happens. That happens to everybody on Saturdays. You can't leave it in the hands of the rest, and you can't let that impact the rest of the football game for you. So it was just a matter of a slow start. And you never got out of the hole. You never even tried to fight back in this football game. It felt like you just kind of conceded this one.
Bro,
and
the first play of the second half, 75 yards to the door.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Moss. Lay it down, why don't you?
Yeah, it almost felt like after Luther Burden's touchdown got called back, it was over. That football team was frustrated. Even the announcers were picking up on it. They were like, Brady Cook is really frustrated right now. Luther Burden didn't go back in the game after that play, sat on the bench for the rest of that drive that Missouri ended up punting on. And it's like there's clear frustration on that side of the football, and they just never bounced back from it. And Texas A&M just kept their foot on the gas and absolutely blew them out of the stadium.
Yeah, I'll be the first to admit I was completely wrong about this game. I thought Missouri was going to come in and kind of surprise people by how well they played. Kyle Fields very much felt like a trap game for this, and I didn't think it would be. And I was absolutely wrong. They got handled from the word go. It looked like, and it was weird, that Texas A&M was the more physical team. And I don't know why I expected Missouri to be so physical this year. maybe just from what I saw last year from them. But, yeah, Missouri looked just disgustingly bad.
Even Missouri last year with the way that they run the football, that stretch outside zone, they're never going to feel like a super physical football team. Defensively, I think our man, the Sean Oakman clone, who was the defensive lineman they had last year that was 6'6", 300 pounds. It was just a massive human.
Oh.
They had a bunch of those guys that were like veteran football players that we just assumed showed a level of physicality. Offensively, they don't play that brand of football. They don't get at you or come downhill at you. They try to stretch you the whole football game. I think I had this one. I think I had Texas A&M winning this football game going in, but for completely different reasons. I thought Marcel Reed was going to be the reason that they won this football game. Connor Weigman comes out and looks like the NFL football player that I thought he was. The first 3 games before Dudes broke his ankle in half last year were, dynamic. Elite football play from the quarterback position last year from Weigman. I watched him thinking, okay, this might be the next one. This might be one of the more talented SEC quarterbacks that we have available. And it just hadn't looked like that so far, but damn sure looked like that Saturday against Missouri. Now, we've had our analysis. Let's play a game of more embarrassing, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, what's more embarrassing? You line up to kick a field goal on the 6-yard line with 8 seconds left in the football game in which you're down 41-7. Or there are accusations that you falsified bulletin board materials.
Ooh, the falsified bulletin board material.
Really? I don't know, man. Kicking a field goal down, 34 points on your opponent's 6 is some pretty cowardly shit and some pretty embarrassing stuff. Cowardly is not the right word. Embarrassing, definitely.
But you know what? You could kind of counter that, and maybe if you're Eli Drinkowitz, you could say, hey, we were down
Got to
big
get
in
him
that
reps
football
at a
game.
PAT.
I told my football team, hey, here's the goal at the end of this football game. We're going to treat this drive like anything else. We got to drive down the field. We got to get points. So maybe you say you built that in in-game situation.
You can 100% justify that. What you cannot justify is apparently providing false bulletin board materials to your own players. Now, going into this football game, it was a nationally viral story. Theo Weiss had a Texas A&M blanket provided to him and a photo that said, get comfortable with this blanket. You're going to be wearing it all day. And it was signed William Blanket Lee, the corner for Texas A&M, who goes by the nickname Blanket. Now, when we first saw this, everybody's like, wow, that's some really, really creative shit talking going on from my man William Lee. Not apparently how it played out. Will you play this sound from Mike Elko fresh after the game?
And have you gathered any intel on the blanket and the card for Weiss early? And how did you feel like he responded?
My suggestion would be you guys should go ask Eli where that came from, because I have a strong feeling that came from the other side and had nothing to do with Texas A&M, Will Lee, or anybody over here. So you should point that one on the other side.
You're going to have to go ask Eli about that. Actually, I recommend that you go ask Eli about that. Now, when I first saw this story, I wish I would have tweeted about it. I wish I had some balls on me. Speaking of wishing we had balls, I'm going to attack you here in a second. You knew it was coming eventually. Talk about this right here. I wish I would have had some balls, because when I saw this, I know how these hotel operations work. When you go on a road trip, the director of logistics, the head football operations person, gets, 80 rooms blocked out, all right? And they get a list of these 80 rooms. And on these 80 rooms, next to each room number, they group you up by position. Offensive lineman with offensive lineman, DB with DB. And they write the names down next to each room. And then they assign that card to that group. They give those 2 cards to those 2 players. The only people that know who's in each room is the director of logistics, the director of football operations. This stuff's not leaked out to the public, all right? The only thing the hotel normally knows is we got 80 rooms blocked out for, Missouri's football team. Missouri football team in room 207, Missouri football team in room 208. The person at the front desk doesn't know who's in each room. They would never. So I kind of thought initially, like, man, that's kind of weird. How would William Lee know exactly which room Theo Weiss is in?
I had the same thought, but I just didn't.
Cowards, both of us.
Yeah, we.
I wish I would have tweeted it out. How would you have known this? You wouldn't. Eli Drinkowitz, what are you doing?
That's a lot of time and effort to go into trying. And was it only given to Theo Weiss?
I guess.
What?
You ain't give the defensive lineman no syrup. Say welcome to this pancake town. You ain't do none of that.
Yeah, I definitely think this is the more embarrassing thing.
Yeah, This could be catastrophic to Eli Drinkwitz's career.
Whoa.
I'm saying that because think about it.
Whoa.
Every game he loses from here on out, if this comes out, is going to be brought back to this moment. And you're eventually just going to become kind of – it's the same thing with Shane Beamer and the feet. Anytime Shane Beamer takes a loss, now we reference the feet. And you become the butt of a joke. And you cannot be the butt of a joke in a college football world. The boosters and the rest of the fan base hate that.
I'm just thinking what somebody else on the staff was thinking when they were like, hey, Coach came in. He was like, hey, I got an idea, guys.
I mean, there's
I'm trying
also
to think of what the Texas A&M DB thought when he saw the picture on social media.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Whoa, where are these allegations coming from? I did what? I didn't do that. I wonder if it gave him some extra motivation. Like, oh, someone's trying to put dirt on my name. Like I'm some type of I'm trying to stir up some dirt.
And I mean, to maybe give Drink the benefit of the doubt here, there's no saying that he even orchestrated this. This could have been a staffer doing that. Could have been someone like, hey, we need to get some motivation going in our team, just doing that out. I mean, this could have been a mercenary thing.
I need to get to the bottom of Blanket Gate.
Yeah.
That's what I need. I need someone to fess up. I am the Blanket Degator.
Well, the good news is that everything's made into a documentary nowadays, so we might get a 2-part documentary on this.
That's what we should do. We should do an FX mockumentary. Who's playing Drink? Do I get to wear the cargo pants?
You think you can rock the
Who-
camo?
who's
Camo.
gonna-
I don't know.
cargo
You got a
pants.
pretty decent Drink comb over going on right now. You're just 6'6".
He does a comb over? I guess he does do a comb over. I'm not rocking cargo camo shorts or Crocs for that matter.
You're
I'm
not,
not-
you're
I'm not
not
jumping
leaping
into someone's
a man's
arms and wrapping
arms
my
and
legs
wrapping
around
I
him.
am not.
The leaping into the man's arms wasn't. I mean, that's bad. The wrapping of the legs was crazy work from Eli on that video. If you don't know what we're talking about, Google it. You'll laugh.
Yeah.
Who's that, Winery?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Winneri.
Williams Winery commitment. But yeah, that is you. That is you.
Cringe.
That
I hope it's
happening
true.
in a
I hope it's true.
34-point loss is terrible.
What we know, because Elko doesn't tell somebody to go ask the other coach unless he knows for a fact they didn't do that. So we think we know Missouri definitely orchestrated their own false bulletin board material, which is you.
Yeah, it is. I do want to say Texas A&M should be kicking themselves right now for losing to Notre Dame in Week 1 because you have nobody left on the schedule. You have Mississippi State, LSU, South Carolina, New Mexico State, Auburn, and Texas. LSU, Texas. Those would be the 2 games you probably circle. You could have been undefeated right now, staring down potentially 2 losses down the slate.
I mean, hell, you're first in the SEC right now.
Yeah.
Why your cargo pockets looking so full, Coach? What you got? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I ain't got nothing in these pockets. Coach, is that a blanket? No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Scarf, actually.
What you doing with all them pockets? What you need all them pockets for, Coach?
Ugh, that's a tough look.
Lincoln Riley.
He's back.
I said it. What if it happens? I said, but we all balked at it. It was like, nah, it's too plausible. Too plausible to be a what if, Minnesota out here nabbing USC at home.
Man,
I got a take here. I'm gonna let y'all go. I got a delicious take. He's in trouble, and it ain't just Lincoln Riley. It's USC as a whole, and I'm gonna talk about that after you guys talk about this football game. But I got a holistic football opinion for you coming up here in a second.
I really thought after watching the LSU game and watching the Michigan game and the second half of the Wisconsin game that USC had kind of turned the corner.
Oh, man.
They were a little more physical. They were adapting to kind of the Big Ten ways. They knew we were going to have to kind of bring their lunch pail more. It's not the Pac-12 anymore. And I thought they were capable of doing that. And to come out into this and just have Minnesota kind of push you around and stifle your offense, it was bad. It was a bad look for Lincoln Riley.
Should have known after the Michigan game that USC's offense was not the same. Not the one that they put on paper or what they put on the field against LSU in the first week of college football. Should have known that this was a different USC than it was going to be. And Miller Moss still is not a bad quarterback, but you throw 2 interceptions. You also lose a fumble that game. So 3 turnovers. That's a recipe to lose almost any game, it feels like, no matter who your opponent is. But yeah, starting 1-2 in the conference. I mean, this was something that you kind of hinted at over and over during the offseason of interest to see how teams like USC fare going into the Big Ten. Feels like a very different conference, very different style of football. It's kind of showing up for USC.
Look at you throwing that oop.
Trying.
Look at you throwing that oop. It's a USC problem. This is going to be a continued problem in my opinion. They have a shortage in an area of people that you can't have a shortage in this conference. This is a big people conference. A massive people conference. And with or without Lincoln Riley, I think USC might have a a recruiting and a roster problem from a stylistic standpoint in this conference. 40 for 193. 40 attempts for 193 rushing yards was Minnesota on Saturday night, or Friday night, Saturday night. Here's how. Left tackle, 6'6", 330. Left guard, 6'6", 310. Center, 6'6", 320. Right guard, 6'7", 315. Right tackle, 6'7", 335. Minnesota has 14 offensive linemen on this roster that are north of 6'5", 310 pounds. 14. There are 14 of 16 on the roster of humans that are that big. And guess what? They're one of like 9 rosters in this conference that look like that. Big, tall, thick, white dudes that play offensive line for a long time in the league. By the way, if you look at the NFL right now, it's loaded down with SEC and Big Ten linemen. It's really loaded down with SEC defensive linemen, but it's particularly loaded with Big Ten and SEC offensive linemen. This is where that league, the Sunday league, goes to for players on the lines of scrimmage. And here's the problem. With or without Lincoln Riley, Lincoln has never dedicated resources to the defensive side of the football in the manner with which he needs to. We've talked about that on this network. But the problem really here is they will – I don't know of – you can't give me 15 Division I defensive tackle type body types in California high school football right now. You can't. They just don't produce them like they do in other regions of the country. Other regions in the country produce and factory line. 6'3", 315-pound dudes that can stop the run. We talk about it all the time with Auburn. We talked about it all week last week. Auburn shits out factory line defensive linemen in the conference. Why? Because the state of Alabama does. The state of California does not, and they never have. And honestly, the only guy of those West Coast teams that came into this conference that really, really prioritizes in size at the line of scrimmage, the only team that's coming over here that's going to have a really, really good crack at it every year is Dan Lanning, and Dan Lanning prioritizes that. Dan Lanning doesn't recruit the West Coast for his lines of scrimmage. He recruits the best of the West Coast and then goes and finds blue chippers everywhere, like a guy like Zaire Addison, right? And brings that guy out of Florida out there to Eugene, Oregon. So this is going to be a continued problem, in my opinion, because everyone nowadays, if they have the right offensive line, can shorten the game on you. And all you are is one turnover away from getting upset like this because you're getting it ran down your throat for 40 attempts. And even if it is for 145, 160, 170 yards, even if it is for 4 yards in a cloud of dust, they're leaning on your ass for 4 quarters and you're in trouble. And that's exactly what happened in this football game.
Yeah, we always talk about how, the sport of college football has passed this coach by or this philosophy by. It's outdated. I think the sport of college football has passed the state of California by. It's not producing enough offensive and defensive line talent to where you can control the line of scrimmage and go into these Big 12 games or, God forbid, an SEC matchup.
Big 10.
Big 10 games.
Yeah, you're right.
My bad.
No, you had it.
And be able to control the game. As you might have all the stars. Zachariah Branch is a great player. Miller Moss might be a great quarterback. Woody Marks is a good running back, but that's not going to be what win you the game. You need offensive line. You need to control the line of scrimmage, and they are unable to do that. And I don't think you're going to be able to recruit in your state to do that. You can lock down the state of California, and this is still going to be a problem for you.
Top-rated players in the state of California: quarterback, corner, linebacker, corner, linebacker, edge rusher, who is 6'5", 240, going to A&M, getting the hell up out of the West Coast. Tight end, edge rusher, wide receiver, the highest-ranked tackle, Jackson Lloyd. Guess where he's going?
SEC school.
Alabama. You know what I mean? Quarterback, athlete, defensive lineman, wide receiver, corner, running back, wide receiver, edge rusher. Finally, the second highest rated edge rusher in the country, or in that state, Hayden Lowe, is committed to Southern Cal. Okay? So they got one of the top 20 players in their state that is a line of scrimmage player. The rest of the guys either don't exist or are going elsewhere.
It's not
in a conference that is line of scrimmage based.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are, the only difference between them and the SEC is overall team speed year in, year out. That's it.
Well, I think it's going to continue to show up on their schedule because they got Penn State coming up.
Big dudes.
Rutgers, who has a really good running back.
Big dudes.
Nebraska.
Dudes.
Corn-fed.
And then Notre Dame at the end of the year.
All they do is dude.
Yeah. So that's potentially 4 more losses on your schedule. I'd even say Washington is also in that mix. Washington proving to be able to be one of these teams that can duke it out with you if you want to.
Troublesome.
Not good.
Be all right, though.
Yeah,
Maybe they can outscore them.
Nah.
They hadn't shown they can.
Yeah, that's
Not
the other
happening.
thing.
Yeah.
I didn't see the interceptions. Were they bad?
I didn't see them either.
I didn't watch the
Oh, man,
full
this
game.
is great analysis right here. Wow. There's a lot of football this weekend to be paying
of good
attention to.
football.
Yeah, a lot of good football to be paying attention to. This one didn't make the main screen. But, yeah, I didn't even need – I don't need to watch the game to give you the overall take. They're going to get leaned on, all right, and they're probably going to continue to get leaned on in this conference until they find big bodies. And California does not produce big bodies. Miami bailed out again. I'm leaning in, boys.
Oh, my God.
We had a Miami fan hop up in the mentions last night talking about, you sound like a hater. Don't you love when people hate you? Isn't that your bag? I thought Miami's whole thing was like, we're okay with the world hating us. Matter of fact, we thrive at it. Look how arrogant we are. We're Miami. I thought that was their thing. So let's lean in. I'm going to be a hater. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to root for the downfall.
I mean, this isn't even hating for my part. I think Clemson's the best team in the conference. I really do.
I mean, yeah.
I think that Clemson's defense matches up really well against Miami's offense, and I think that the way Clemson's offense is playing against some of their conference counterparts, I think Clemson is playing the best brand of football holistically right now in the ACC, and I'm still standing on the point that they're going to win this conference, and I'm standing on the point that they will beat Miami if they play one another.
Stand on that business.
I feel that way 100%. That's not even hating.
For the second week in a row, we've watched Miami, for all extensive purposes, get bailed out by very questionable ref calls that went down to review and were both reversed. It is clear to me that the ACC is capering to
rigged.
save this team because they need someone to be a playoff contender, not just a playoff contender, a national title contender. They need Cam Ward to be their shining horse in this.
Oh, yeah. Give it
I'm
to me.
putting a hex on the Miami Hurricanes.
Haters and
are,
hexes.
They are cursed for the rest of the
Haters
season.
and
I'm done
hexes.
with this.
I love this.
That is bad karma, you know. Karma's coming.
It's
Football
the
karma's
football
coming.
gods are going to get you. ACC cannot protect you. I'm putting a hex on Miami.
I think it's the first time on this network I've publicly leaned into being a hater.
Good.
I think I'm going to do it.
They
It's one
deserve
of the
it.
acceptable times.
Sometimes I be trolling. This time, I'm for real. I'm on the we are haters of Miami bandwagon. That's where we're at. The anti-wagon. The ACC is rigged allegations out here.
The ACC cannot protect you from the hex that is coming. I'm telling you. Disgusting. I can't believe it.
My man Mendoza, they just ran out of screen passes, didn't they?
Fernando Mendoza gave me
about
the
did it.
golden ticket for the
He
weekend.
about did it.
If I hit on the Fernando Mendoza take was the only one I was really hoping would actually hit, and that one was bad to cash in, but yeah, they ran out of screenplays and they just ran out of everything.
Boy, he was in his bag, wasn't
They
he?
threw the kitchen sink,
Dude,
but they
my
threw it
God.
way too early, and then it was like, we got any more plays?
I think they had 4 scoring drives in a row in which all 4 drives had an explosive off a screen pass.
Yeah, man.
Running back screens, wide receiver screens, tight end screens. I think they tried to throw a throwback at one point.
Oh, yeah.
They were in their bag,
They
just
did
blew the
everything.
wad.
Yeah, way too early. I will say, if football karma does indeed happen to Miami, it'll be in the ugliest way possible due to what their schedule looks like.
You mean uglier than almost losing to Virginia Tech at home and almost losing to Cal on the road?
buddy.
Uglier
listen,
than that?
Buddy.
It's Louisville, Florida State. If Brock Glenn going to give you an upset, that'd be pretty bad. Duke.
Oh, Brock Glenn almost died at the end of that football game, by the way.
Yeah. Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, Syracuse. It's going to happen in an ugly way.
2 losses on that. Easy.
Super sub, and this is suggestion. I don't even understand it. Suggestion on Thursday's show, Brooks should take on stream 2 big whiffs of Wake the Dead to start the show. What is Wake the Dead?
I believe those are smelling salts.
Oh.
I can't confirm that. Let me do research.
The only experiment I've had with smelling salts was on a bachelor trip.
That's a very interesting place for that to occur.
The smelling salts weren't a thing when I was playing ball. You just did it the old-fashioned way. Someone slapped you or something.
Smelling salts are definitely been around since you were playing.
For
felt-
sure,
yeah, I
but
felt
we
like those
weren't
are
into
old-
them is what I'm saying.
I got you.
We definitely weren't into them yet. So, but yeah, I'm down. I'm down for something.
Yeah.
Wake the Dead to start the show. We might. Somebody send me some Wake the Dead stuff.
You ever
Just go. Put
Is
your
that what I
body through-
need? I need more juice.
I was about to say you're going to put your body through a whole loop, knowing what the lead up to this show is
Ooh.
already.
Hey man, chill out.
Oh, I'm not attacking
It's not
you.
that
I'm
bad.
not
It's
attacking-
a
no.
cup of Joe today. That's
Cup of
all it
Joe.
was.
Hey, sometimes you got to get the juice. You got to get the juices flowing. I ain't hating.
Where were we at?
We're
hating on Miami.
We're hating on Miami. We all want to watch them go down, right?
Everybody does.
They will be.
Is this the new hate watch?
They
Is
will
this
be.
the new-
For this channel, certainly.
No,
I
I'm
think
talking
everyone else enjoys watching them. I think they're fun to watch
I think that
because of their nonchalant
b-
nature.
But I think now after the way that they've won the last 2 weeks, I think it's turning into a hate watch.
They've had two of the most horrific wins, and people are parading them around like they're a top 10 team. You should have lost to Virginia Tech, and it took a 28-point comeback against Cal to win that game.
Did you see the one AP Top 25 voter that voted him at 16? Clearly thought they lost the football game.
No, they just
Definitely went to bed at
fell
midnight.
Fell
Was like,
asleep
"Oh,
down 35-10 and
Cal's
was like,
got it."
damn, Miami sucks.
Yeah, poor guy.
I mean,
Sent
too
the
fat.
ballot in.
That game didn't end until like 1:30.
it was
Two.
a- it was late with
155 was the time that one concluded. And poor old Reese Davis.
Oh,
my
I
God.
didn't even recognize him at first.
He's my ice bath award of the week.
Yeah, give it to him. Give it to him and
It
Kirk.
sounded like someone punched him in the larynx.
Kirk had rocks in his throat. Mm-hmm. I felt so bad for him. Even the goats, so the goats can get out here with the throat lozenge.
Yeah, when I was listening to the game, I was like, "Who is on the call for
Reese.
this game?" And I was like,
Reese,
"Oh, it's
and
Reese
he was
Davis."
dying.
Yeah, he was.
Get that man a lozenge.
Shout out though.
Get that man some honey and tea, man. Come on.
All right, where we were right, where we were wrong. I wish this just had some victorious soundtracks to it. I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and stamp where I was right. Kirby, I was right for making you try, or at least trying to make you be a man last week.
Here we go.
I was right because you could have been the only guy on the internet right now that is
was.
out here parading. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because the clips we got sent were you saying, I think Vandy can keep it within 15. While curtailing around being the guy that was going to make the take that Vandy was going to win.
There was no one else in the country that said, watch out for the Vandy game. Not only did I say that, I said it multiple days. Vanderbilt exceeded my expectations. I never predicted Vanderbilt to win that game.
You should have.
I'll be the first to say I didn't think they were going to win it. I said that game will be close. You're sleeping on it. And multiple times I said, hey, that's a sneaky game. And from you, I got, no, it's not. I don't believe in Vanderbilt. And Jay will say, if that happens, you need to go to Twitter and start hitting people over the head on it.
And then I said, no, he can't because he's a coward.
Because you don't want to be wrong.
You made up for
You
it.
didn't want to be wrong.
I didn't want to be wrong, but I wasn't.
On something
I was
that
right.
nobody
You
ever
weren't.
remembers, which, by the way, is something that I've learned from this weekend. We can get any takeoff in that segment as long as it hits. It doesn't matter if it misses. Because you, swung haphazardly and hit a little dinker into left field.
Let's
And
also
people are
not-
like, my God, Kirby, give him the week off. What a genius.
Let's also not forget I said 3 top 10 teams were
I was about
losing,
to
and
say, you
both
made
of
up
you
for it.
said
You did.
that's not happening,
You
and
did.
you almost had 5 lose.
You did.
Almost, yeah. But I agree with you. You did make up for it with the top 10 teams losing. But I think that we also gave you an opportunity in
hammer
the
it.
segment, like, dude, hammer this home. Like, just go ahead and say it.
Just
say it.
hit it right now.
But I was with you. I was like, dude, you deserve all the credit in the world because you said it multiple times, and you were the only one pounding that one home. So you definitely deserve the biggest
Thank
victory
you.
lap ever.
He didn't pound it home.
You just wish you said it. That's all I'm going to say.
Where were you right?
I was right about Missouri. I was fully right about Missouri.
I was wrong
I'm
about
gonna
that
say I was right about Fernando Mendoza because I told everybody you better buy your stock now. And I think that you should have been buying some Fernando Mendoza stock. Everybody knows themselves about some Mendoza stock now. Buy
Love
some
it.
more of it. Oh, and then, again, I continue to be right about Ashton Genty.
Very,
Continue to
very
be right
much.
about
The
Ashton
meme, the
Genty.
meme that just got released on him is hysterical.
Michael
way
Myers
he-
thing.
the Michael
Yes.
Myers meme, the way he stands.
He just stands there.
In his stance, it's hilarious. I was very, very right about Bama being a boomer bust offense.
Yes.
That was the definition of that. I also kind of already hit on this. I'm going to pat myself on the back for my take about Josh Heupel taking his foot off the gas in Norman. I think that reared its head. Again, for the third time, the rearing of the head tonight. I think that exposed itself again this weekend where you had an opportunity to hammer the nail in the coffin on the road, and you chose not to, or you got conservative, or you didn't trust your ability to execute, thought you were going to turn the ball, whatever it was, you had an opportunity to get out there and do something in Norman that you were going to need to do a couple weeks later.
Yeah, I mean, it's the take of win today, how you're going to have to later on. You
Bingo.
had the opportunity to do that, and you didn't. You kind of squandered it, and it showed up this weekend.
I'm going to pull a Christian Kirby. I was almost right with Iowa. Iowa rock fighted Ohio State for 3.5 quarters.
They
How
lost
about
that
that?
game 35-28.
I mean, you said they were going to win by or only lose by 15.
I said they keep it within. I said first it's a 1-score game in the fourth quarter, and you immediately shut that down. So no,
21 for 25 for 203 Will Howard. That doesn't impress me. I am still anti-Will Howard deep state. I ain't got to watch the tape. I guarantee it's Jeremiah Smith doing something miraculous deep downfield. I bet it's
did
some
have one of
elite.
those.
I bet it's some elite run after the catch on some 5-yard hitches, and I bet it's some behind the lines of scrimmage screen passes. I ain't got to look at nothing. It's the same Ohio State team that I've been pounding on all year long. Anti-Will Howard deep state, stand up and stand 10 toes down. I need it strong.
That take hasn't aged well yet.
I'm not worried about it.
It
I'm
could.
not worried about it.
We're halfway through the season.
That game, they did the same thing against Iowa they've been doing all year.
Yeah.
The moment, I mean, if Iowa's offense could maintain offensive possession at all, that game's not 35-7. The whole second half, Ohio State's offense has short sides of the field. I'm not there yet. Let's do it against Oregon. Do it against Oregon.
We will find out.
We're gonna find out.
Absolutely.
If they could throw the ball at all, it's going to be against Oregon because Lord knows Oregon's due for a 90-yard explosive every week.
Did you see the clip of Will Howard near the end of that football game where he made a crucial throw? I think it was 3rd and 4, something like that. He makes a throw, completes it, and then he kind of looks over to the sideline like, "I told you so." Yeah.
Yeah.
And people are saying, and it was funny because they showed Ryan Day shortly after Will Howard, and he's just kind of looking at the ground, not looking at his quarterback. So maybe Ryan Day is part of the anti-Will Howard deep state. Didn't trust his quarterback in the big moment.
We got Ohio State fans in the
I'm
chat
glad
tonight.
we do.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy the channel's experiencing growth, even though they're only going to be here for 30 seconds before they leave because I dared to say something negative about their football team. Even though most flawless and most execute-prone football team in college football right now.
At the moment, yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah.
The passing attack lacks some execution at times. All right. We saw an interception against, who'd they play earlier in the year? A red team. Western Kentucky.
Maybe.
Miami of Ohio.
I can't keep up with
There's a turnover in there. All right. We've seen some things there, but
He turned it over this weekend.
From a flawlessness standpoint, they've executed on the
Absolutely.
offensive side of the football.
Absolutely.
27-24 with 12 minutes to go. Indiana got themselves in a war, an absolute war at Lenny and Sharon Martin Stadium.
Ooh.
They didn't leave with all their limbs.
Nope.
They left with a 2-score win, but they left losing an arm. Absolutely. A war down there in Lenny and whatever Sharon Stadium.
Wow.
I just love the fact that they played a women's soccer stadium. Every time they're in a battle, I'm going to bring it back up.
Oh. I was right. I said on Thursday that Friday night football games this year in college have been absolute bangers. We got another one of those on Friday.
That's
Syracuse versus UNLV
Yeah, man.
was an absolute all-timer. Keep Syracuse in the Friday slot. I'll watch Syracuse football on Fridays against whoever they play because every single one of them have been great football games.
For real.
Shout out to Ricky White. 2 punt blocks in that football game.
Yeah.
All facets of the game, guy.
Yeah, got to. I mean, helmet sticker guy at the end of college football final, no doubt. Got to. I was definitely right on making you be a man. You chose not to be. I was definitely right on thinking Oregon would, get back into it and look okay and look like they're priming up for Ohio State in 2 weeks. Though I don't think it was as good as it could have been. They could have blown the doors off this football game early, had 2 red zone turnovers that were just bad decisions and bad timing by Dylan Gabriel. Apart from that, it went about it exactly like I thought. I think I predicted this one to be 38-7. I think the final was 31-10. So one of those red zone possession goes the other way. I nailed that one.
I think that was all I was right on.
Where we were wrong?
Ole Miss, South Carolina.
Yeah, we
Very,
all had that
very
one
wrong.
tight, didn't we?
I was hammering home that this was going to be maybe one of the few good games, few tight games this weekend. I thought it was going to be the game of the weekend just because I thought these two teams were kind of evenly matched based on how they played this year. I thought Ole Miss coming off of a loss to Kentucky at home, maybe they're unraveled a little bit. They got to go on the road to South Carolina. South Carolina's amped up because they've been playing better than maybe what they expected this year. And they laid an absolute dud at home. I mean, maybe the worst game under Shane Beamer since he got there, I would say. 3 points, 3 offensive points in the entirety of the football game. It was just a bad showing. And, again, it's the turnovers. They continued to turn the ball over. Robbie Ashford fumbled once he got in the football game, and Lenore Sellers also threw an interception. So the turnover battle continues to be an indictment of this football team.
Not one, but multiple Ohio State fans in the chat. Hell yeah.
Good.
Welcome. Make sure you subscribe.
I was wrong about Baylor and Iowa State.
So you had the opportunity to say I was wrong about nothing and then send it right back over to me.
No, I'm not going to do that. I was wrong about Baylor and Iowa State. I thought Iowa State was going to kill them. They beat them by 22 points, but it wasn't as bad of a drumming as I thought it would be. Dave Aranda is still kind of hanging on there. So,
dude, I had Tennessee winning that football game 42-10.
I thought they'd win handily. I also thought Arkansas was going to keep it close in the first half, so I was wrong too.
42-10. How wrong can you be? Really, really wrong. I want to circle back to some analysis I left out because we went to the board on that football game. Really, really, I hope Taylor Green's okay. Do we know anything about his injury report status?
I can give it a quick
I hope
Google.
he's okay because I was really impressed with both his ability and Andrew Armstrong. Number 2, that wide receiver, 6'3.5", 210 pounds, really, really big, really physical, and they won tight window throws all night long against that Tennessee defensive backfield. I thought I missed an opportunity to give them their kudos in that football game.
No update.
No update. We'll talk a little bit about injury updates in the local hour because, boy, was Kirby Smart on one today. That was delightful. I slept on the slate. I ain't going to lie to you.
Boo. Never can do it.
Never sleep on the slate.
For a program that told everybody, don't ever sleep on the slate, for you to be doing that,
I mean,
I'm
I
ashamed.
didn't hit the snooze button. You know what I mean? I was just like on Thursday, hey, what if none of these games are good? And we had some good games. We had lots.
We will
of good
always
games.
have good games.
I thought Taylor broke his leg. Me too. I thought he definitely fractured a femur.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked rough.
And for once, it wasn't because he was trying to be a hero. He
Yeah.
was actually just being a quarterback.
Just being normal.
Just being normal.
Yeah. Dirty. Dirty?
Yes.
Raise your hand if you think that was dirty. All right.
Football God's going to get him. Well, they already did, but I mean,
Yeah, football gods got him.
they might not be done with him.
All right, things we learned this weekend. I'll start it off. 3 things we learned. Number 3, the gap is smaller than ever in this sport. I think the talent and the gap in between quality of football between 1 and I'd go right in the middle of the pack, like right in 1 through 60 any given Saturday. If you don't prepare correctly, if you don't show up and execute, you are vulnerable to getting beat. I think that is a fact. And Kirby said something today that really hammered it home. The ability to steal people's backups nowadays has really impacted the talent gap. And I know that's a first world problem for a guy like Kirby saying that, but we're seeing it all across this conference where rosters are comprised with guys that used to play for the team they're playing against. The safety from Arkansas had a damn game and a half. He was at Tennessee last year. So we're seeing this happen all the time around the sport, and I think it really, really has shrunk the gap. That being said, it has increased the talent gap between 1 and 132. All right, the bottom half of this sport is as bottom half can get. They are really, really bad. 67 through 132 from what I'm seeing on Saturdays. A lot of teams that are looking down the barrel of a winless football season. Okay, a lot of them. Number 2, option football and shortening the game is here to stay. Now, I don't know if this has become an opportunity to win at a higher rate nowadays because of the clock rules, where first downs, the clock doesn't stop until inside of 2 minutes. I don't know what it is, but I feel like more and more often I'm turning on tape and I'm looking at games where so-and-so shrunk the game. They had 43 minutes of time of possession. Now, time of possession is not new to football. People have tried to control the clock, shrink the game, shorten the game, do all that good stuff for years in football. But I'm seeing more and more of it. And I think there's an opportunity now in college football for guys like Pavia to exist at a much higher rate. By the way, UNLV was doing the same thing with Buddy who quit. What was his name? Slucka. They're doing the same thing. Man had 20 carries a game. They were running the option. Haynes King at Georgia Tech doing the same exact thing right now. And a lot of these offenses are having tremendous amounts of success doing it because it's really, really hard to defend. I think it's here to stay. Number 1, and this is the clear-cut takeaway for me and something that I have learned and hammered home this weekend, illegal man downfield, and it has been for a while, but I feel like even more so now. Illegal man downfield is the most inconsistently called penalty in the history of football. I mean, the history of football. We think targeting's hard to call. They never call this right. Never at all. I feel like they call it when touchdowns are getting pulled off the board, and they don't call it when touchdowns should be called off the board. I have no idea how they are going to fix this or when they will ever address this, but it's getting to an extreme now. We got guys 6-7 yards downfield blocking on some of these RPOs. It's nuts, and the calling of it is completely inconsistent.
Yeah.
My first one, everything we thought we knew we didn't. Alabama, we thought they were the clear-cut number 1 team, world beaters. It's going to be really hard to beat this team. Vanderbilt, of all teams, shows up and defeats them. Tennessee looked like this legitimate contender that was going to really push for one of these top playoff spots, maybe even play in the SEC championship. Still possible, so can absolutely happen. But there's some holes on that football team that are a bit concerning from an outsider's perspective, and just a whole bunch of shakeup in the college football world this weekend. Number 2, this is the deepest the SEC has been in a long time, maybe even ever. I had Vanderbilt as the 3rd worst team in the conference. They just beat the number 1 team in the conference, the 3rd worst team. I think anybody in this conference, maybe outside of Mississippi State, I think that's maybe the only team I'd X out of this
Just
equation.
boo-boo?
Yeah, just really bad. And I think it's clear that they're very bad. Any other team, I think maybe could give, from top to bottom, any team a run for their money on a Saturday. And my last one, I think this might be the greatest college football season ever at the end of it, just based on how this is building up. I mean, the Georgia-Alabama game was an all-timer. This past weekend provided some absolutely incredible moments and upsets, and we're like halfway through the season, not even halfway through the season yet. There's been and we Ashton Genty's leading the Heisman race right now, a running back. It's just been a great season.
Is there only one conference, that being the Big Ten, where there's one clear-cut best team, everybody else is kind of fighting it out?
Yeah, I would say that's it. No, because Miami and Clemson. So, yeah.
All right.
But we'll find out about the Big Ten this weekend.
So far in the head, the best team in that conference.
Yeah.
Most consistent, like we said, except for we're anti-Will Howard Deep State.
Well, you are. I think he's fine.
You think he's fine?
I think he's fine.
Fine. We'll take fine. Where do you stand on the anti-Will Howard Deep State?
I've just kind of said I think he's a good college quarterback.
Infidels, both of them.
I don't think he's going to win you a game, but I think he's a good quarterback for what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you need a game manager at that type of school. And
there's nothing wrong with being a game manager, Ohio State fans. There's nothing wrong with that being in your offense. I think that can be a good thing in football to have a game manager.
Especially when you have the most creative run game designer probably the spread options ever seen. So yeah, that
don't
helps.
take it as a diss, because I don't know why that started being a diss, but
because A.J. McCarron, they called that man a game manager. I feel like that A.J. McCarron winning national titles was the first time I started hearing about game managings.
And you know how
I feel like. Am I wrong on that? When was the first time you heard game manager be used like that? He's just a game manager.
Jake Fromm.
All right, so yeah, A.J. McCarron predates him.
He does.
Yeah.
But
Because
A.J.
I remember
McCarron-
A.J. McCarron had that one throw in the SEC championship game. I think it was against Georgia, where everybody's like, see, when they needed him to actually make a play, the game manager came out here and stopped managing. So, yeah.
A.J. McCarron also lasted a long time in the NFL.
He did as
I think
a
he's
backup.
still in the NFL, isn't he?
No. He left the maybe he's in the NFL now, but he left the NFL to play in the XFL
Yeah.
because he wanted to get some playing time, have his kids watch him play.
I think he's back, though.
Yeah.
Very well could be.
Good money. Good money playing that backup role. I'm good on the National Hour. We good?
Yeah, I didn't do mine, but we can cut it since we're 5 minutes.
Oh,
over.
no, go ahead real quick.
No team is safe. The SEC, the ACC is terrible, and it's time to give up on the Jayhawks. I was
lose
holding
again?
on. Yeah, they did. Last
told
second.
you, jump off the boat.
Did they
Last
lose to the
second
Fighting
drive,
Kitty
dude.
Dillinghams? Come on, man.
Last
What
second
kind
drive.
of question is that?
Told you, jump off the boat while you can, man.
No, I
You thought the Kansas Jayhawks were going to out short man syndrome the Arizona State Wildcats? Wildcats, my God. Sun Devils? Hell no.
Fraud fan.
Fraud fan. Like their mascot to me is a little man named Kenny Dillingham. Facts. Got a whole nother hour coming up right now.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
I guess Clark Lee gave a fire soundbite. I'm going to have to go look at that after the show tonight. Welcome back in. We got a whole nother hour for you guys. Kirby Smart had a press conference today. I dropped a film study today. We have some more reaction from the Auburn, Georgia game from this weekend. Sanford Stadium and its environment, and insto facto fans got called out by their head coach. We're going to talk about that because that happened yesterday. I guess they hit the timeline after my Sunday reaction show. Or no. I gave a fire take on that during the show. So we've talked about it a little bit. We're going to talk about it some more tonight. Dan Jackson getting some more love on the show, and we're going to hand out game balls. But first and foremost, I want to give a shout-out to our friends over at BetUS. If you're looking for a new book this season, BetUS is indeed the answer. BetUS has the fastest deposit and withdrawal process in the entire industry, and you can get a 150% bonus or a sign-up bonus today over on BetUS using promo code YouTube150. You get a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and 125% on your next two deposits up to $2,000, again, using promo code YouTube150 over there. Guys, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Kirby's press conference? Do you want to start with film notes? What do you guys want to start with today?
Let's do the presser.
All right, let's get to the presser. I got presser notes back here. Let's start with it. Where did he start out? 10K Day. 10K Day coming out to Stegman was in the opening statement. Blackout. Getting a blackout Friday night in the Steg. So, yeah, show up. Gates open at 6 o'clock. I said I was going to do this as a rub for the volleyball team because we don't talk anything but football around here. But, yeah, Friday night they're having an event. They're trying to break the indoor attendance record for women's volleyball.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Get us. Show up. Make sure you're handing out those awards for the breaking of these records. 10,000 people going to watch this volleyball team who apparently is on a resurgence. I guess they've gotten better. So there we go. Yep. Was asked about the kickoffs lately because they have been kicking the ball inside the 5. Yeah. High arc kicks, not kicking it out the back. And I thought it was actually a really good question. I think it was from Roddy. Said that, hey, is this something that you're preferring, or would you prefer to kick the ball out of the back of the end zone? What do you think his answer was?
He prefers it to be kicked in the 5-yard range.
Nope. Actually, prefers it to be kicked out of the back of the end zone. We don't want to create an opportunity for a return. However, this is an individual, and I guess Peyton Woodring's
Woodring's doing
deep kicking. Peyton doesn't have the ability, I guess, to kick it out of the back of the end zone consistently. And if I recall, hasn't he kicked one out of bounds already this year?
Yeah.
Didn't he kick a ball out of bounds against Kentucky?
Yeah, I believe that happened against Clemson.
Early in the season. So since then, I think they've stopped trying to kick it out of the back. I think they've tried to do this high arcing, let's get a coverage type of kick.
I always thought that that's what they were doing intentionally because they feel like they have enough team speed to where they can pin teams back.
When Rodrigo was here, that's what would happen. When who did the deep kicks last year?
I think it was Zirkle.
When they have the ability to do that, they will deep kick out of the back of the end zone, and then occasionally Kirby would be like, you know what, these guys need to tackle. So he'll kick one of those balls that's, high arcing and inside the 5 selectively. And you're right. In years past, they have. It sounds to me like this is something that they're going to continue to do and not selectively do because Woodring doesn't have the ability to consistently kick them out of the back of the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, in this answer, he really emphasized the hang time of it. Let your coverage team get downfield. And honestly, there's still the rule if you fair catch it within the 25, you get the ball at the 25 still. So, I mean, you don't need to kick it out of the back of the end zone. You'd prefer to, you'd like to, but if you're going to get 4.5 second hang time, you're probably all right.
He was asked about Van Buren, the new quarterback from Mississippi State. Said he was thrown into the fire really quickly. He's a tremendous athlete, and they bring the other quarterback in to do a lot of predominantly quarterback run game. I'm glad he's giving me the breakdown because I don't think I'm going to have the bandwidth to be breaking down Mississippi State because I broke down Auburn last week, and y'all didn't even want to watch that one. So we're calling out fan bases tonight. Just kidding. I don't want to do that. Kirby's already got him pissed off. I don't need to, what is it called? Piss on him when it's raining? I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that to him right now. A lot of respect for Jeff Lebby. I had to get a tremendous amount of respect in there. Talked about you have to beat the man in front of you to win. This is another one of these football teams that always tries to get to the right answer at every portion of the field, and every play has a winner. So you have to win and beat the guy in front of you down in and down out. Good news for Georgia. They're going to continue to do that, I would imagine, on Saturday against this Mississippi State offense because this Mississippi State offense hasn't consistently won their matchups in front of them. Was asked about Chris Cole, said he had to play a role. Was asked about the rest of the young players and said, of course, they get most of their improvement during practice behind closed doors. You guys don't get to see that. Says they see an SEC quality opponent every single day. Was asked about, quote, cutting it loose. And what does cutting it loose look like? He says he wants to see his players play without anxiety, play above all of that. And he says you earn that right through the week. I can see a little bit of this. I certainly saw this against Alabama. There is a hesitancy to play with a tremendous amount of confidence. Now, there's a thin line. There's a thin line between playing confident and playing arrogant, right? I think we saw that thin line get exposed this week with Alabama, where Alabama last week, that's confident. That's what confidence looks like. Alabama this week, when you play that confident, people are going to say, why are we celebrating when we're down 7 against Vandy on the road when we score a touchdown? Or maybe it was worse than that. Weren't they down 14? And Bama fans are like, why are we celebrating, doing celebrations in the end zone? Well, that's the backlash, right? That's that thin line we're talking about there. Was asked about the fan engagement again, and you got to love when a football coach stands 10 toes. You know what I mean? And he even said, I stand on it. He didn't say business. I was waiting for him to say stand on business. But he said, I stand on what I said. He said it's okay. It's okay to be out here and challenging the members of your family, right? It's okay to say something's not to the standard. And he felt like that was what he was doing. I also felt like he kind of, maybe this could be me. I'm very biased to myself. I felt like he danced around the take that I delivered yesterday afternoon, that this was a monster that you created. And he even said that when you create a monster, and he stopped himself. But he was on the Florida State staff where the fans kind of got, accustomed to beating the hell out of teams. And he was on an Alabama staff where home field advantages got accustomed to winning games and being favored by 25 points going into them and assuming that was the outcome that was going to happen, right? He kind of danced around this take. Am I right or am I wrong on that? Y'all listen to the press conference today.
Yeah, I would say he danced around it a little bit because I think he's always going to be he's always cautious of what he says. And if he feels like he's going in the wrong direction somewhere, he's going to stop himself. So, I think he did a little bit.
He tried to say in the least arrogant, least pompous, least confident way possible that we have won so much games it's been to the detriment of our home field advantage because now our fans are, and he didn't say it, but I'll say it, feel that they're entitled to, you show up, the game's over by halftime, and we can leave.
Yeah.
Was circled back on with the anxiety, was asked, how much anxiety have you seen in Carson specifically? And he said, I don't reference Carson in that. He's in a very good headspace. Made to double down and say that does not refer to, playing with anxiety does not refer to our quarterback. Talked about the margins being tighter, right? Said everyone can take your backups. We just alluded to that to close the national hour. Said these teams are a lot closer than most people realize, and I would agree to that sentiment, except for, like you said, Mississippi State. Apart from that, everyone's, one good half away from you looking up in the second half and having to come back and fight into a football game you were favored by multiple touchdowns in.
Yeah.
Do we think Vegas, you're my gambling guy, do we think Vegas will kind of regress to the mean here? These large spreads in conference that we're seeing, do you think we see less of these moving forward?
I would say yes, but judging by the Mississippi State line, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Georgia's
35.5?
34.5 right now.
Jesus.
So
That's a lot of points.
I wouldn't bet on that, but I wouldn't take Georgia.
Talked about the coverage, right? Said he didn't come out of breaks really well, or corners didn't come out of breaks really well, but was really pleased with the way they mixed it up well. He gave me a new term. You guys know I'm a football nerd, and this might be only entertaining to me, and that's a bad thing to be doing when you're trying to run an entertaining sports talk show. But he used the word pitching. He talked about pitching to quarterbacks, and I didn't, when he first said it, I'm like, pitching? What's he talking about? And then I started to understand what he's talking about. When he's saying you got to be able to pitch to guys, he's talking about literally as a pitcher. When I'm attacking a hitter, I got to give him multiple looks, right? I got to throw multiple pitches. I can't just sit there and throw fastballs right down the middle every single time. I've got to pitch to this guy. I've got to throw some curveballs in there. I got to hit some changeups. I got to, selectively hit my spots, right? Same thing when you're calling defense. And I think my man Kane Womack could probably take a lesson out of this playbook. You can't just sit up on the mound and throw 98-mile-an-hour gas. Eventually, somebody's going to sit on a fastball and hit it over the fence. We got to be able to pitch to the guy and throw multiple different looks. I loved this football term today. We did a great job pitching to him. I hadn't heard that. Have y'all heard that term?
No.
No, but I do love it.
I've heard
do too.
mixing it up, throwing variations at him, but never just,
disguising the looks, changing the looks. I've heard that, but the idea that we got to pitch to this guy, I hadn't heard it said that way.
You hear everybody use the term of, we're going to throw him a curveball.
Yeah.
But using the whole term of we're going to pitch to him, I like that. I like that a lot.
And I bet he comes in on Monday and he's like, how many pitches we got for this guy this week? How many different pitches we got?
What's the arsenal looking like?
Yeah. What's our tool belt looking like this week, gentlemen? I love that. Shout out Friday Night Lights. I asked him about Cole Spear and going down on special teams. I said, this is an offensive guy coming into high school, coach. How y'all out here teaching guys to tackle? I'm assuming you teach everybody on the roster how to tackle. Is that what's going on? Because everybody plays special teams. You know what he said? From a insurance and liability standpoint, we teach everyone on the roster how to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
No Jason Street.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So there you go.
I mean, sometimes the difference in winning a game is a pick six. If you can get the guy down. That was kind of where I took the insurance of. If we're gonna be in a situation where we are on the offense like that, it flips. We're defense now.
Yeah.
You have to be able to tackle.
Not only that, you have to know how to do it to protect your body. You do it wrong, you can really mess yourself up.
Yeah, you can destroy him.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah, sad reference, but
I mean, he's alive.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's thriving.
Yeah.
he's doing all right.
I'd say he's doing pretty well. Aspiring is what we are, comparatively. You know what I mean? That's all the presser notes from today. Yeah, he stood on business with that fan comment.
Didn't get you much on the injury front.
Oh my God, dude. This was crazy.
I laughed out loud for probably 2 minutes after I watched that.
So the first one was Howard Jordan Hall and Jared Wilson. They're dealing with injuries. Hope to get them back. Then the next one was, because, Smile popped up on the injury report Wednesday out of nowhere.
Right.
Okay. Showed up to Saturday with a boot on his foot out of nowhere. We've heard nothing as to what it is. No one's reporting on it. No one's giving the information out. So I think it was an individual today said, Coach, what is Smile Mondon dealing with specifically, and what is the timetable for his return? The direct quote was, Smile's dealing with an injury. On to the next question.
Yeah, Smile's got a foot. We hope to get him back soon, real soon.
Smile's got a foot. Hope to get him back.
2 of them.
Real soon. 2 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a master.
He got foots.
Just a master class.
Got a case of the foots.
Got a case of the foots. Yeah, it was gamesmanship. And honestly, man, this doesn't clarify any pictures. And maybe this is why he was so happy about the injury reports coming out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, because you don't have to specify what the injury is.
No, you can put 85 guys on there if you want. We saw Ole Miss do it this weekend.
I thought it was more interesting, too, that there wasn't even a build-up to it of, hey, Mondon, questionable. Oh, doubtful. Now he's out. It was just, hey, he's out. He's not playing.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Foots.
Got a case of the foots.
He got a Shane Beamer effect going on. He got foots.
Kicked the chair.
Yeah. Crazy work. Mans was in his bag with the media today. We already did a Bet US read. I want to ask you guys to go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Our ratio is just not good enough. You know what I mean? It's just not good enough. We got people showing up and watching and not actively getting involved in the show and supporting. All right? We're all trying to pull in one direction. That's what Coach said today. We're all trying to pull in one direction. I need you to pull in the direction I'm pulling in, which is to the moon. It's to the moon on this channel. I need your help. All right? So I'm asking for it right now. Nay, I'm demanding it right now. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. I'm challenging you as a fan base. Speaking of challenging as a fan base, I think it's a good opportunity now to roll into Kirby Smart's comments about the fans. I gave my 2 cents yesterday. You guys have been in those student sections. You understand what it actually is in this stadium as a fan. Mm-hmm. I've only been on the field. So enlighten me.
I have 2 stances on this. The only gripe I have with any of this, I don't have a gripe with Kirby Smart because Kirby Smart is known to challenge the fan base. Kirby Smart is known to tell his fan base to show up. And it's kind of just part of Kirby's person to challenge people. That's kind of the standard that he holds everybody to.
But correct me if I'm wrong. It's normally before a big game where he's like, we need y'all.
Sure.
Yeah. It's not post-game. Where were y'all at today? This is the first time I've heard this one.
Well, and my only gripe is with the people who are saying, oh, well, if you play better, we'll show up. You're a top 5 team in the country right now. You've won 27 straight home games. You've won back-to-back national titles. You just beat an arch rival by 18 points at home. The product is good, and especially in a weekend where a bunch of teams were upset, the fact that you're saying put on a better product, you're one of the better products in college football right now. Just because you're not blowing people out by 40 like you used to when you had 15 NFL draft picks on your roster a couple years ago, that doesn't mean you're putting on a bad product. That's the only group of people that I have a gripe with about this is those giving that stance. But I will also say that I think that there is an issue, or not an issue, but changes do need to be made, in my opinion. And I go back to this of, I would say Alabama did not have this outlandish crowd environment, that they weren't overwhelming.
No, I didn't think it was ear-splitting loud.
Yeah, I didn't think that there was any moments like that for a game against Georgia. Did not hear any of that. What Alabama does do a good job of is that during media timeouts or anything of that manner where there's a break in the football game, they are putting someone on the football field to get engaged with the fans. A male cheerleader doing some type of chant.
Turns into a nightclub.
Playing some type of music that everybody's singing along to. And that is just, you can tell that they're groomed to do that. That is their tradition. I think that Samford needs something like that because there's, especially in today's era of college football, there's too many times and moments in football games where, another media timeout, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, let's sit down, and then you got to ramp it back up altogether.
Here's the most concerning take about the in-stadium sound effects for our audience. You ready? I really like the in-house music. And my musical takes on this channel have been historically pretty shitty, according to the feedback from most folks. But I enjoy it. They play a shitload of 3-6 Mafia, and I'm all about that. The 2000s hip-hop and rap that they be throwing out there is banging.
The pregame DJ is good. It's not. It's the in-game one that's
You need
not.
some water, fam?
I'm good, dude.
You good?
Give me a second.
No, we'll be all right. He's pulling a Reese Davis
talking.
over there.
Keep
Somebody get
talking.
man some water. This has been the most common take I've seen is that the in-house, whatever stadium ops is got going on, that's the primary concern from most younger audience members that I talk to and then I get feedback from. I mean, the chat just told you were cooking because you attacked the in-house operations, and I understand that. To be honest, since I've been covering them, they haven't done anything new in stadium except for the lights, and that's something that you can only do at night.
Right. Well, I mean, I'll first say this in defense of, well, first off, the people, to your point, Jay Will, the ones that are saying play better football, have some freaking accountability on yourself. If you're going to demand excellence from your football team, demand it from yourself. That's irrelevant. That's not even part of the point. In defense of the fans, there was a lot of factors on Saturday that could have probably made that crowd environment not as hype as it usually was. I mean, you had
It's hot as bows.
not only that, the start of that game, everyone said coming out, that was the most unexplosive first half we've ever seen. It was two very methodical teams marching down the field. There were no explosive plays. There wasn't a lot to get up and get excited for. Not that that's an excuse. There was also a hurricane a week ago. I saw a couple people on Twitter saying, hey, tried to make it out. We're just too tired. Haven't been dealing with a lot. There were also other games that were absolutely crazy. Most of the people in the press box that I saw weren't even fully paying attention to the Georgia game because Alabama was losing to Vanderbilt. When they showed the Vanderbilt touchdown on the screen, that was the loudest the stadium got.
It was a pop. It was a major pop.
Yeah. You're not going to have a college football day like that ever again, probably. It was also a homecoming crowd. Homecoming crowds tend to bring in, some of the older alumni, some of the wealthier people, less of a rowdy bunch. And then also, of course, the heat was a factor. In the students' defenses, what's the first section that gets filled up no matter what?
The student section.
And they're there an hour before. So those guys,
2 hours.
Yeah, so those kids are already sitting there for 90 minutes before the games even start. They're kind of spent. So when you tell them, hey, alcohol and air conditioning are 300 yards away and you have to walk, and the sooner you get there, you probably don't have to pay covers. I get that. That all said, those are excuses and it's not acceptable. The thing that I think the problem is that there's kind of a tug between the donors and the traditionalists of Georgia football and the new and exciting people, the students that want to see this. On top of all that, the senior class this year has never seen Georgia lose at home. They've seen 2 natties. They've watched 1 regular season loss. You've only had to, there's going to be some complacency because you don't have a Kirby Smart every week, every day saying, hey, come out, you have to be elite. So I get that part. But I do agree with Jay Will. There needs to be more done to kind of modernize this in-game experience. I get the people love Baba O'Reilly. The who doesn't move the needle for a bunch of 18 to 25-year-old kids.
I ain't gonna lie.
That's fine.
The Goosey meter don't lie on me. It does not. The Gooseys are unbiased. They show up when they show up. When they hit that Saturday, and then it's boom, 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 boom. And then what was it? It's time to
attack the day.
Yeah, to attack the day. When Kirby does that, like 35-year-old Kirby, first year Kirby,
Yeah.
when he pops up on the screen, it's time to attack the day. And then the smoke rolls, I'm like, all right, goosey time.
Yeah.
Goosey time. That ain't the problem. It's what y'all talking about. The 4-minute TV timeouts inside Sanford Stadium feel way longer than anywhere else.
It's when you do hey, we're going to do a karaoke cam. Let's all get involved. And you play a Quiet Riot song. A rock song that was 48 years old. Like, I get it. There needs to be a more modernization of the in-game. And that's probably not going to change as much for the in-crowd experience. But you're at least going to give people more of an incentive to stay. You're always going to have a problem as long as you beat the shit out of teams for fans leaving it and have to go downtown because that's just the way it is. But to incentivize more, I think some adaptations need to be made to the in-game environment.
I think there's too many TV timeout recognitions for people.
Oh, yeah.
I think that those people should be recognized. But maybe that's
is a lot.
Maybe that should be a pregame thing.
It's a lot.
Or something. There's a lot of them.
It's a lot.
There's so much more opportunity you could use that for. And like I said, I think that those people should be recognized, but you could be doing so much more during those times.
Auburn's got a hype man, like a male cheerleader that has the microphone that does the in-crowd things during the timeout.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama's got one. Kentucky's band director does it. Georgia doesn't have one of these.
No.
It's just the crowd gets up when it's told to get up. And it's relying upon the DJ. It's nowhere else.
Well, the problem with that is, and you're right, Jay, well, there are a lot of recognitions. That's like where they make their money. Those segments are so sponsorship heavy. Like every single one is, the Breda pick the hat or, the carrying. All those things are sponsored. That's where they make most of their money on game day.
Every time the find the UGA or find the hat thing comes on, every time I do the Shrek, it's number 3, my lord. Number 3.
It's a requirement.
It's a requirement. Number 3, my lord.
Pick number 3, my lord.
Pick number 3, my lord.
But even yeah. But the push and pull I also see from, the younger fan base compared to the traditionalists is like jersey combinations, things like that. Like if you did one blackout a year. And the main thing, Curb. That's what I'm saying. I get it. But if you did one blackout a year, and they will do it against Georgia Tech, mark my words.
Half the state had a blackout. Hurricane came through last week, Kirby. Be respectful.
I'll even go this far. The team doesn't have to do it. Just the stadium.
Yeah.
Penn
State does their white out.
blackout with the stadium.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to wear black. I think that's enough. You don't even have to wear the black jerseys.
I mean, you ain't got to copy it, but one of the coolest things in college sports is the checkerboard at Neyland. That thing's sick.
That is
sick.
That is really cool.
And you're right. Apart from the hedges and the trumpet. Trumpet? It's a trumpet,
Talking
right?
about the battle hymn?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
trumpet.
Sick.
Apart from those,
Keep that, please.
you don't have a lot of these traditions.
No. There's the, spelling of Go Dogs at the front. There's Georgia Bulldogs on one side. And those are all fine. I don't think you need to change any of those. I just think you need to add more stuff to incentivize the younger audience that might not necessarily care as much.
Do you know the Muffin Man?
Do you know the Muffin Man?
Nice.
Transition.
Film notes. I got them. You want them?
Yes.
Bring it.
I broke down UGA's offense. And I was going to open the local hour with this because these are some bars right here. This is stone cold facts and reality about the situation of Georgia's offense right now. Okay, you ready?
What's up?
I hope I nail this because this might be a good clip. Great offenses don't simply have great players. Sure, great players are very, very important. Great scheme is certainly important. But the best and the truly great offenses, do you know what they do? They execute consistently. They don't have missed assignments. They don't have negative plays. They make plays when their number is called. They don't have drop passes. They don't have missed blocks. They don't misalign themselves. They don't get into bad body positions. They execute across the board consistently. Based on those standards, this Georgia offense is not a great offense, and we all know this, right? They are consistently inconsistent at this point in the season. There is not one thing, and this is what's really it's not concerning, but it's the biggest question mark to me. There is not one area of concern with this offense. There's not one thing that they struggle with. They don't struggle with pass blocking. They don't struggle with run blocking consistently. They don't struggle with separation consistently. They don't struggle with the quarterback making consistently the right decisions. But consistently, every single one of those areas shows up and fails to execute sporadically throughout the football game. And that is the difference. They are a very good football team offensively right now, and they are consistently inconsistent, which means they are not a great offensive football team right now. Period. Point blank. And until they can consistently execute and not have, ooh, wow, left tackle got beat. Ooh, wow, wide receiver busted. Ooh, wow, quarterback turned down an option that was open for us. Ooh, running back clearly ran to the wrong side. Ooh, right tackle just busted. Until they stop randomly doing these things, they're not going to be a consistently good offense. And guess what? Georgia's pro-style offense requires some of this consistency because they don't want to be a boomer bust offense. They want to control and dictate and win football games through the safest means possible, right? Kirby Smart talked about it today, said, I'm not into simulations of football. I'm into winning the game that is at hand. And the best way to do that is through a pro-style balanced offense, right? Air raid systems are fun. Explosive offenses are fun, but they go through periods of stagnation. Offenses that are pro-style and methodical and mean and can do a lot of good things really, really well, those offenses consistently have success as long as they're executing. If you're not, you're just one of these offenses like everybody else. It's going to go through these moments and stretches of the game where you don't look very good because you're not consistently executing. So I wanted to start with that because for 5 games now, I think the play calling's fine. I think the scheme is fine. There are answers every single time. I asked Kirby today about, hey, when a team's doing something that you're not prepared for defensively, what does the adjustment look like? And you know what his answer was? There's not really an adjustment for us because we've got answers on every play. We don't have answers on every play from an RPO standpoint or hey, make sure you do the right thing post-snap to make me look good as a coach. No, they have one side of the field that is there for man beaters. They have another side of the field that is there for zone beaters. It's a great offense. It's designed that way. All right, so they have answers. They just got to consistently get to them. One thing that is consistent and obvious on tape, and I really hope, and I'm sure you are, I really hope Georgia fans are absorbing it and enjoying it. But Trevor Etienne is so special. What this guy is doing right now is something that I haven't seen in that running back room in a long time, a really long time. I hope we get a game where Trevor Etienne has 210 yards or 215 yards and an explosive 80-yard run where he puts somebody on his face and gets to run to the end zone free of any defenders. I hope we get to see it because what I'm seeing on tape right now is like first back off the board if Ashton Genty didn't exist type of stuff. And by the way, he's catching the ball now. Like they're designing offense for him. They're obviously designing offense for him, and that's really, really important for how this offense is going to progress. Let's talk offensive line. He was presented to the media today, and I was this close to having the stones to ask it, but I was busy writing an article. Not Dylan Fairchild's best football game. I think we can all say that. You watched it with me in-house today. It just wasn't him. From start.
Like it.
Yeah.
I mean, from the start of the football game, he's on his face. All right, gets ripped down against the 3-tech from Auburn. Now, Auburn had some fire plugs that were playing D tackles. We've talked about it. We've given them their flowers on that side of the ball from a defensive line perspective. However, it just wasn't. It wasn't 53 standard. I expect 53 to play like a top 40 selection every time he rolls his helmet out there. He did not perform to that standard this weekend. 73 is a guard. Xavier Truss is a guard. He will be a guard when he makes an NFL roster. All right, he will be a guard as long as he survives in the NFL. He's a guard now in college. We got to stop. We got to stop because it's been 5 years now of seeing the same things, show up on tape out at right tackle, playing way too far extended, playing way too out of control because he feels like he has to, right? Feels like he has to play faster than he is because he's athletically compromised at that position. He's playing out of position by the need of them thinking they need to do that. They don't need to, which is my next observation. 57 is so ready. Monroe Freeling is so ready right now to be the starting offensive tackle at Georgia that he needs to be. He needs to be. And Xavier Truss, as long as Tate Ratledge is not healthy, probably needs to be at guard. And if you want to rotate Micah Morris in because you feel like he deserves playing time, that's fine. But I think that needs to be the rotation. If it were me, it would be Ernest Green at left tackle. It would be Dylan Fairchild at left guard. It would be the center that is most healthy. It would be Xavier Truss at right guard. It would be Monroe Freeling at right tackle. And we would play those guys until they're tongue dragged. We wouldn't be rotating. It wouldn't be. That would be my 5. If Micah Morris gets in, that's fine. But we would be rotating a tight bunch. This idea, and I know why he does it. He does it for health concerns. He does it for freshness. He does it because we need guys to be ready because injuries are inevitable on the line of scrimmage in this sport. I understand. But at this point, the injuries have already occurred. Tighten the rotation and play with the guys that you know can win and win on a consistent basis. I thought 74, Drew Bobo, did a really good job on Saturday. All right, there were some moments in that football game where his physical limitations showed up on tape. All right, his effort recovered. All right, his effort will always recover for this guy. I am a Drew Bobo fan. I'm going to tell you that right now moving forward in this guy's career. I am a Drew Bobo fan because despite the fact that he is 6'5", I see a lot of myself in that guy. A guy that's going to have to play smarter, going to have to play harder, going to have to play longer than everybody else on the field. And he does so. He does so very, very often. The difference between me and him, that dude ain't seen a piece of contact he didn't want to run face first into. He loves contact. I did not. That's why I played offensive line and not defensive line. This is one of those rare cases. Liquor drinker, boys. Liquor drinker right here. He hunts contact. Lawson Lucky, I seen the chat hitting on it already. Lawson Lucky, I think this year he's a good player. I think next year he's going to be a very, very special portion of this offense. A very special portion of this offense. And as the season grows, I think you're going to see them continue to develop more and more opportunities for him. And I think, and I would know, based off what I saw on film, we as an offensive staff would be sitting our quarterback down and saying, hey, look at 7. Look at 7 just a little bit more. 7's open. There's a play on the goal line where he's running a bender. He's got to get over the inside linebacker and cut it up underneath the safety. It's the Brock Bowers touchdown every single time in the red zone. It should have been force-fed to Lawson. And I think we're going to get to a point as an offense where we need to force-feed 7. And I think he's earned that, okay? And I think eventually he'll end up getting that. Talked about shortening the rotation as an offensive line. I think they already have, and they need to shorten it maybe a little bit more at wide receiver in this order. Here's how I'd play them. Dominic Lovett, Dylan Bell, London Humphreys, Arian Smith, number 8. That's how I would rotate them. Number 8 would get in there when I know we're getting man coverage. And Colby Young, I do these number things to my grandfather. My grandfather only called teammates by numbers. He just because he didn't know names. So I do it too. And I find coaches do this. 54 is really good. Watch out for 90. He's got a real stern anchor. I don't know why it is, but my brain's always done it that way. Dom, Dylan, Colby Young, London Humphreys, Arian Smith in that order. Tighten the rotation. Yes, I want to see Anthony Evans get burned. Where? London Humphreys seems to be a guy that needs to get playing time too. He's a slot receiver. Dominic Lovett seems to be your most dependable option. He's a slot receiver. Dylan Bell is one of your best options. He's supposed to be a slot receiver. You see what I'm saying? Like you're inundated with these types of football players. That needs to be the rotation. I hate singling out football players, but I've done it everywhere else, so I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to shy away from here. Hell, I said Malachi Starks had his worst career game last week. Branson Robinson is so uncomfortable. So uncomfortable. It's not even that at this point on tape it looks like he doesn't 100% trust himself. He's not even trusting his teammates on reads in front of him. I think the rotation there needs to be shortened as well. It's got to be Trevor Etienne when he needs a breather, Nate Frazier when that guy needs a breather, Cash Jones.
My question on that is not the way getting someone more comfortable, giving them more reps until they finally feel like they get their legs under them?
Not in SEC play. Maybe this week. Maybe this week when you have a sustainable lead, if that's what's going to happen. But no, man. And you've seen it when that game was 14-10. Trevor and Nate Frazier were getting the burn. Or you saw it in that football game. And when early in that football game, Branson's getting most of these touches. And by the way, I don't want to just bury him for good like Kirby did Nick Saban after the USF game last year. What I want to tell you is that Zamir White looked just like this the first time he came back. The first time Zamir White was getting burned, this is what it looked like. We all said, "Ooh, look, it doesn't look like him. He's washed. It's not the same guy." And now look. Now he's your Raiders running back, isn't he? And he looks like the Zamir White we thought he one day would look like.
Oh,
all right.
Our line sucks.
Well, yeah, but he's an NFL football player.
Yeah.
Well, and at the tail end of his Georgia career, he looked like the
Yeah.
Zamir White.
Yes. It
Everybody
got back
wanted
to
him
it.
be.
He's very good.
We're eventually going to see flashes. I think if I were his coach, I would just tell him go.
Yeah.
Just go. But the real thing that's almost concerning too is like when he meets a safety in the hole, the safety's knocking him back.
Yeah.
And like that's a loss of mental confidence too, of like, I am no longer impervious. Like when that dude ran the football when he first got here, guys would bounce off of him. I don't think he's any less strong than he was 2 years ago when he got to Georgia. I think there's a lack of 100% confidence in what he's doing.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
I was fine with the adjustment offensively. We talked about it on film study. Auburn showed up, and Carson alluded to this after the game. Auburn was a man defense, a single high man defense on tape, and that's kind of what they prepared for. And then they get out there, and now all of a sudden this is a soft zone 2 high football team. Now we've got a kind of what I call confirmed coverage, right? We got to go out there, and they did a great job of scoring while doing this. That's the most impressive part. Georgia scores a touchdown on their first possession while Auburn's playing a style of defense that they hadn't really shown on tape before. And I saw this offensive staff start to do what I call, again, confirm coverage and then attack. What you can't do is what they did against Alabama last week, which is come out and just start taking shots willy-nilly, all right? And they didn't do that last week against Alabama. They were taking shots because Alabama was playing the style of defense that they anticipated. So they went with the game plan. We're going to take shots. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to attack these DBs on an island. Auburn comes out playing something differently. Okay, now we've got to adjust as an offensive staff. I thought they did a really good job of doing that, and the film study alluded to that.
This brings me to a question. This feels like the third or fourth time this season where we've said, okay, coming into a game, this is a man coverage team where they run zones and they like to run a lot of cover 3, stuff like that. And they come out in the first few drives, it's something completely different. Why do you think that keeps happening to Georgia?
For all we know, Tennessee Tech did it. No one was pre-working the Tennessee Tech defensive tape. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is what I would do. Like if I'm going to play the number 5 team in the country or the number 1 team in the country or one of the most talented teams in the country and I know I'm outmatched, what I'm not going to do is what they think I'm going to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to throw a curveball. I'm going to pitch to them just like they're going to pitch to me.
I feel like this has been happening to Georgia for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Is that you go into the game thinking one thing, change it up on you, but they've handled it almost every single time.
And Kirby mentioned something, they see multiple looks from our defense every week. And that alludes to the fact that they're still practicing against their defense every single week. You know what I was flabbergasted about, and I can't wait to show you on tape, from that Vandy tape? Vandy ran a lot of the same RPOs that Alabama's offense runs. A lot of the same style of, hey, I'm going to lead block this running back onto your short side right quick and run quarterback power at you. Let's see what you do. Buddy, y'all should have been ready for that. Like the fact that they weren't alludes to what I told you yesterday, which is this team doesn't practice a ton in terms of physicality. This team practices like a pro team. They do not practice like an SEC football team. All right, and that has its pros and it has its cons. Its cons are going to be you're going to have trouble with run fits pretty regularly. And I think that's what we saw on tape. Let's get back into more reaction from this Auburn football game. Kirby, you thought the game management was delightful.
I loved it. From clock management to play calling to the way that the entire game just kind of played out. I felt like it was one of Kirby Smart's best call games. There weren't obviously as many critical moments. He didn't have to call a timeout to stop a 4th down conversion on a fake punt. But I really felt like that was as near perfect of a game you can get coaching-wise.
Yeah, I thought overall the game was pretty smooth. I mean, even when it was 14-10, still felt like Georgia was just going to respond to that. They were going to get the capture back the lead. And it never felt like Georgia was going to give up a lead at any point in that football game. So I felt like it was just the definition of Georgia took care of business. They defeated a rival, and they did so handedly.
Yeah, I mean, to go back, there's going to be a lot of narratives of slow starts because you were down to, 2 minutes left in the second quarter, and you had 7 points. They only got 3 first-half possessions and scored touchdowns on 2 of them. So, I mean, it's not that they were slow starts, quote-unquote. They just had methodical long drives that ate the clock.
And probably could have had scoring possessions on 3 of them had they gone for 4th and 1 and elected to punt right there.
Which, like I said, I think that was one of the best decisions Kirby Smart made because you pinned them. You had your 3 timeouts. You used the timeouts. You got the ball back. and you institute a 2-minute drill without having the risk of missing a field goal, not getting the fourth down.
All that positive analysis, and he said this after the game, all that positive analysis goes out the window if Thorson punts that ball at the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
If Thorson doesn't do his job, they exchange not going for it for 16 yards of field position, which would have looked like a stupid call, but his player executed right there at that moment. While we're talking about a delightful Kirby Smart coaching performance from a management standpoint of this football game, this guy's known for coaching hard for 4 quarters. We all know this, right?
Oh, yeah.
I saw an example of this, and I told you about this after the game, didn't I, Kirby?
Yes.
The Dalen Everett story.
Yes.
So on that last possession of the football game, Dalen Everett is in, all right, and Auburn's trying. They're trying to move the football. But it's clear. The game is over. I mean, they're down 18 points. Even if they score, barring some crazy shit, they're not winning the football game, all right? And Dalen gives something up. I can't remember what it was. Oh, no, I know exactly what it was. They try to transfer a slant off, all right? So they run a slant, and then they flare the back out of the backfield. And I'm pretty sure what Kirby wanted was you have to transfer the slant, you have to scream in, and then we have to float back because you're in cover 2. We have to float back up underneath this swing from the running back. Running back catches the ball, runs up the sideline for 30 yards. Auburn or Georgia, some TV timeout. Timeout happens. They're in the huddle. And I look over there. I'm taking photos. I look over there, and Kirby is as red-faced as he could be. And he is in Dalen Everett's shit. I mean, in his face. So much to the point where he grabs the back of his jersey and kind of like shucks him onto the sideline. Just like, get out of my huddle. And then points at Daniel Harris and says, you're in. And that, like, all the time, hard-ass coaching from this dude for 4 quarters.
I love that. I love stories like that just because I feel like it's good for your team to feel that type of pressure throughout all 4 quarters because you're going to be put in those situations like you were in the Alabama game of this is going to take all 4 quarters, and it's good to have those types of feelings even in games where the game's clearly out of hand. We could even give up a score here. We're going to be all right. But to have those feelings, I think is good for the football team.
I think Dane Young was the one that pointed it out and tweeted it out. Shout out to Dane. A video of Rashada right there in that 2-minute drill. Like really, really peeking in and listening. And for those who wonder why Jaden Rashada came to this program, it's for that right there.
Yep.
It's for that moment of coaching. And by the way, kudos to that young man for doing that, by the way.
Sponging it up.
Of choosing to do this when it looks like you're the 3 right now, right? And it looks like we're 8 months from you even being able to compete for this job opportunity. You're out here doing what I call dry reps. Those are dry reps for him. He is choosing to selectively absorb that information.
Sponging.
And seeking it out. That's impressive. What else do we have from a general reaction standpoint from this football game, guys? Say it. It was on the notes. Say it. The Beck and the receivers notes.
Yeah, I don't think that we are necessarily at a point where Carson Beck is fully clicking with his wide receiver core. Not like it was last year, at least. At this point of the season, I felt like there were a couple of times there was a more consistency between Beck and his receivers, whether it was communication, route running, timing, things such as that. And I don't know necessarily what needs to be changed to fix it. But that's the only critique I have. I mean, he was still, 23 for 26. Like, he had a banner day. He looked great. But there were still a couple of moments where it's like, man, imagine if you did that correctly. Or imagine if that route was on time. Or imagine if, that was the right throw. Stuff like that. It's nitpicking.
I'm trying to remember back in these years, over the last 3 years specifically, because I feel like one of those seasons, one of the national title seasons, it felt like we were saying these exact same things a lot. It felt like we were sitting here on Mondays and Sundays saying, if you just execute that, then it's a touchdown. I can't remember if it was the 2022 year or if it was 2021, but one of those years I feel like this was a common scenario.
22, they rolled through the entire regular season, didn't they? Apart from Missouri.
Yes.
What's that again?
2022, they rolled through the entire regular season?
No, 2021 they
Or was
rolled
that
through the regular
2021?
season.
Okay.
2021 is when they rolled through the entire regular season. They had some
So
struggles
maybe it is a
between.
2022 season. That would make sense. I mean, you had a
Yeah.
lot of turnover on both
Kent
sides of
State,
the football. But
Missouri.
I felt like that this was one of those things that, like, you start out the season really strong. You go play Clemson, you play
Stanford.
Oregon.
Samford.
I just felt like this is kind of modeling that year. But eventually that team figured it out. Like, there was a point in the season where they got less and less and less and less.
I alluded to it in the film study, and I don't want to get too far into it. I don't think Carson Beck's 100% himself right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair to say. That wasn't Carson on Saturday.
That felt like that. Honestly, it felt like a very governed version of him.
That's a safe assumption. A very governed version of him. Defense still not tackling well. We can openly talk about that.
Yeah, that's a concern.
I did say on Sunday, and you guys can either agree or disagree, it's not a team tackling issue. It's when open field one-on-one tackles present themselves. Georgia's losing a lot of those one-on-ones right now. Jonell Aguero Saturday on that Jarquez Hunter touchdown run, and I'll give Jonell some credit because he was engaged in a block, shedded the block, and then just went way too high on a very good running back when you got to tackle his legs. So I think, and the Milrow thing, he's just hard to tackle.
Yeah.
Vandy didn't have a problem.
It's not an angles thing. Usually almost always broken tackles and things like this.
Bad angles, bad effort, arm tackles,
They're
whatever.
taking good angles. It's when you make contact, the guy falls forward for 2 more yards or he breaks that tackle altogether. And you don't necessarily always see that from a Georgia defense.
They haven't lost Tyke and Bull from a coverage standpoint, but those dudes tackle. Those dudes tackle like a son of a bitch.
And Kamari didn't miss tackles either. I mean, you had three of your team's best tacklers was in the secondary last year.
I mean, he openly would talk about Kamari as their best tackler.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he's shown it on Sundays.
Yeah. So maybe it's explainable.
Yeah.
You lose 3 NFL tacklers, then you're going to have some of this.
Yeah.
And I would say Malachi's known for a lot of things. He's not known for being a headhunter at the safety position.
No, he's not.
You know what I mean?
No.
Dan's the one who's taking up that role and hunting the football.
Ooh.
Big time. Show Dan some love. Go ahead.
Dude,
I already did yesterday.
He deserves it. I think he's been the most consistent player on this team the entire season.
Ooh, that's a take.
Offensive and defensive.
How about I'll step it up. Most consistent player the last 2 years.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean,
2 years.
Since he switched to 17, Dan Jackson has not been ever an issue. Where you look up and you're like, damn, Dan got beat again.
No.
Ain't happening.
47 Dan Jackson was kind of like, what's he doing out there?
This is also the most interesting walk-on story from a Georgia perspective, in my opinion.
It's most slept on, too.
Well, yeah, but it's more of impressive in my mind that this wasn't a guy that they recruited. All these other walk-ons, they nabbed. They stole from other power, mid-major football programs. Mekhi Muse was on his way to Troy out of high school. All right, Logan Johnson was on his way to Troy out of high school. Not Troy specifically, but you see what I'm saying. These guys were offerable mid-major football players. Braxton Hicks, these are names that don't actually pan out for these guys, but these were dudes that were going to mid-major programs elsewhere. Dan Jackson was enrolled at school, showed up and was like, Coach, I think I want to play me some ball. Wait, you run 4.43? Come on down, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, even, everyone talks about how Stetson is the GOAT for different reasons, but Dan Jackson, I think, has had just as hard, if not a even hard. I mean, you were on a team, you got playing time. You started, correct me if I'm wrong, on a team where 5 first-rounders were taken just on the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
So, I mean, for him to do that as a walk-on is crazy, and for him to be where he is now, shout out to him.
Bro, he was getting burned as a redshirt freshman as a walk-on.
Oh, I can remember it clear as day. The 2021 Clemson game, everybody said, who the heck is 47?
47.
And why is he starting on our defense? And then you found out why. Oh, that's why he's starting on our defense.
I'll never,
he's a missile.
Someone tweeted, I remember someone tweeting a screenshot and saying, a DB wearing 47, I know I'm throwing to. Bad decision.
Don't you dare throw
The number
away.
switch was critical.
Yeah.
Critical. Had to get up out of it.
Earned his respect.
Pollock's the only one who can rock it.
Yeah, there's not another great number 47 ever.
Not that I can think of, no.
How's it? Well, they don't retire numbers. Is Herschel the only number that's retired?
Oh, they have 4 numbers retired.
Oh,
34,
Sinkwich's number's
34
retired, too.
62, 21, and one other.
42?
Something,
remember.
Something like that.
All right. Let's hand out game balls, shall we?
Let's do it.
Offense, I'm giving it to Drew Bobo. Give me that game ball to the first
Really?
first game starter for the center. Yeah, man, protections were clean from a mic identification standpoint. Run game calls were relatively clean. and I didn't see him get beat too often.
No, he definitely deserved it. I was just surprised because I figured you'd go with ETN because he's been your guy pretty much.
No,
all
I
season.
was going to leave the layups to the lesser qualified.
Well, I actually had Bobo, so
your face.
I'm appalled right now.
you just gotta ignore it. You just keep going.
So Etienne gets your game ball.
Well, yeah. If you're gonna take Bobo, I'll go ETN.
Who you got over there, J. Will?
I told you during pre-show, I'm taking Etienne.
Well, I was taking Bobo, and he took it.
We
All right.
Lean into the suck, boys.
You can take ETN. I'll go next.
Who are you taking?
I'll go after.
Actually, you know what? You have Etienne. Give me Lawson Lucky.
Hell yeah.
I said that he was going to lead the team in receiving yards. He didn't quite do that. But Lawson Lucky stepping up in a big time, and he's kind of emerging as one of these primary targets, like you said. Might be time where you start saying, hey, look, number 7's way a lot more, and start getting him more involved in the offense. I mean, Bobo has made it an emphasis that he wants 7 involved in the offense since week 1, and I think he's kind of emerging. He's gaining some more confidence, and he might become the it factor in this offense. And I think he continued to show that on Saturday.
Defensive game ball. I'm giving it to Starks. An impressive bounce back game. It wasn't like he changed the game, but no missed tackles in open field. Felt like he got the guys down on the ground and played fast, bounced back, played confident.
Jill, do you want to go since?
Oh, yeah, I can go. I'm giving mine to TID, Tyrone Ingram Dawkins. It was another impressive week for him. The disruptor in the backfield, he might be the most consistent player on this defensive line right now. When he is healthy, he's showing exactly what he can be for this defense. I'll give you some stats. 7 tackles for loss. That ranks 9th in the country right now, and his 3 sacks rank 8th in the country as well. So he's up there with the national leaders. He's making a big difference on this defense, and he was absolutely a factor on Saturday in a big one.
Where is Zakovi? Zakovi had a knee sleeve on, and it looked like his left knee was giving him some problems in pregame. It seems like it's been one for the last couple of weeks, by the way. Go ahead with your game ball.
I'm going to go Jalen Walker. He's been disruptive the entire season. I think that stopping him on the 4th and 1, where you essentially stopped the play that Jalen Milroe scored on last week, was massive. It was momentous for the game as well. Auburn, if they convert that, there might be a chance of having that game interesting. That pretty much shut down all hope for them. So Jalen Walker gets my defensive game ball of the week.
All right, coach of the week. I'm giving it to Brett Thorson.
Oh, he's a coach?
He's a coach?
Well, I mean, who's the special teams coach?
Kirk Benedict.
I know. Shout out Kirk Benedict. Almost killed me last week at Alabama. Yeah.
Did you tell him special teams don't matter?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he probably heard that. That's why he did that.
Yeah, maybe he's watching the show. No, Kirk almost ran through my soul coming out of the tunnel.
Can you
it was
believe
probably my fault. I was probably in the way.
Can you believe that, dude? The guy who said special teams don't matter is giving Brett Thorson a game ball.
Well, it's a double down. Special teams don't matter so much so that the punter's probably coaching himself. You ain't coaching the punter on how to kick balls, are you, Kirk?
Not at this point in his career, you would think. Especially not someone that went through a literal academy before he got to college. Just go do your thing, baby.
Brett Thorson, coach of the week.
I went T-Rob. I feel like the secondary had a really big bounce back week after, some of the questionable things that happened against Alabama. There were a couple of moments where it's like, dang, is this secondary as good as we think? I think they really solidified themselves in this game. Looked really good, played a really clean game. Good job for T-Rob.
I'm giving
Apparently that was Chaz Chambliss's first sack since 2022 LSU. Checks out. Doesn't play a lot of third downs.
Atta baby Chaz.
He's had more interceptions than he's had sacks.
Yeah, he doesn't play a lot of third downs.
I'm giving mine to Josh Crawford. First time all season where you got a team to play 2 deep safeties, maybe open up some of the run game, and Trevor Etienne delivered. Nate Frazier came in, took some big reps. He looked good as well. I thought it was a great day for the running back room, and it was good to see that they provided consistency in this offense. They continue to make the first defender miss. They got some spark on that room, so I'm giving it to Josh Crawford.
Hey, if you haven't already subscribed to this network, please do. We're working a little bit too hard right about now. Way too hard. I'm going to be up till like 2 o'clock tonight breaking down more film. We have a film study on Vandy's offense coming up tomorrow. We'll also break down Georgia's defensive performance from Saturday tomorrow as well. It's a great time to be on the Film Guy Network. Appreciate you guys for being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out.